Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
There's your buzzer. The Trojans heading to the Sweet 16 in a city that loves their stars. A new one is Grayson, Los Angeles, Juju, and SC heading to the Sweet 16.
Beckers, little hesitation and hits.
Big-time players step up in big-time moments. Paige Beckers showing you who she is.
A falter, gonna take it inside and long. Final minute of this third quarter. Clark off the cross into the lane, the hang and the hit.
I feel like that comes from knowing what it takes to be where we want to be. I think, from here on out, every single team is going to give us a really good game. Every single team is basically a top 25 team at this point. So that's what makes March so fun. I definitely think I could have smiled a little bit more, but hey, I'm competitive. I want to win, and I expect us to be really good all the time.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio and 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, SDB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here on the Pillar Exterior stage, live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. It's a lovely Tuesday morning in the metropolitan area here of Omaha, Nebraska.
It's fantastic. What do you have against this? What do you have against a few sprinkles?
Honestly, it's the wind that's bothering me, if I'm being honest.
Ravi here for anti-sprinkle.
Coach Sprinkle?
No, I like Coach Sprinkle.
From Utah State?
Well, Coach Sprinkle, as everybody can see me like.
Yeah, you're doing some weird stuff over here this morning. Just as the show's about to start, that was probably too much.
Yeah. Yeah. A little too much salt in the old water. But got to get the electrolytes going.
We were about to start the show, and you go walking away. I'm like, what is he doing?
Where's he going?
And
Show's
he
about
just
to start.
Grabs the salt shaker. That's gonna be way too salty.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it again.
I'm telling you though, you got to replace those.
That thing wet.
That thing wet. I need the electrolytes just because I can feel my body telling me no. No, it's feeding on itself.
That thing wet.
No, it's not wet. The water is, though. Did you watch that last night by any chance? I wish you would.
I did.
Do you? As we're talking about Caitlin Carter.
I had the double screens with Creighton and Iowa going.
Yeah. UCLA is tough.
That was I was wondering as they kind of built out that first half lead. I was like, I don't.
How you gonna get enough stops and score?
Yeah, I was like, if you don't keep shooting like this, you're in trouble.
Yeah. And again,
they stop shooting like that.
King press conference guy.
You love a press conference.
Did you not get a little emotional when Flan got up? I kind of did.
I didn't stay and listen, but I love Flan.
Me too.
Flan's my guy.
So yeah,
and this is kind of his last ride with this group.
Told you I low key stalked him at the state championship.
Yeah,
and he was with Dave Gillespie, former coach Gillespie. I can't say Dave. I'm sorry.
Just call him coach.
I would hit myself, but.
Don't do that.
Doing too much.
It's gonna get weird over here.
I know, right? You're like, oh gosh, what's wrong with this?
It's already a little touch and go.
Oh man, it's the salt. It's the salt, I tell you.
That's assault, brother.
Yeah, there's a difference between iodized. Well, I think in its original. I think before it gets through the process,
you add iodine to salt to make it iodized salt.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say, but you said that so much. Oh, it just sounded better coming off your lips.
It's a little science. I like my science. I'm a sciencey guy.
So I do notice I typically use a different kind of salt.
This is just the bougie Himalayan sea salt.
This is just table salt, but
is it the pink salt?
It will do the trick.
Yeah.
I have one pink salt. I have one that are the chunks. What do you call those?
The crystals.
Yeah. What's the
rock?
Yeah. What's the sea salt?
Don't be fooled by the rocks that you got.
Yes.
You're still DB from the block.
Wow. 2000s kid here for radio. Yeah, but watching the Jiminy Christmas. You're watching the Iowa game last night, and it's weird because she's not a big, and usually you see those people that are officiated differently. But
superstars are officiated differently.
It would be very, very hard to officiate her games.
I think so.
Yeah, especially for her style, because I think she prefers it free flowing.
Oh yeah.
But
most super skilled people do.
But
she initiates a lot of contact.
Yeah, she's very capable of
she wants it. She only wants physicality on her own terms.
So I watched her the other night, this weekend, And it was interesting because her dad, for all intents and purposes, seems like a nice guy, and he always gets the camera panned on.
Yeah.
I don't get
Kinda
into
is
the
what it
whole what
is.
they believe. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it seemed, and he's a good interview, at least from what I see, right?
Publicly, yeah.
And I think like this weekend, he actually told her to stop it,
He did. She was complaining about refs,
and he said, "Stop it."
she like looks to him. It's almost, it reminds us of a very strange analogy. You remember when
We're full of those.
it's kind of our wheelhouse. You remember when you couldn't, because I think they changed this rule, but in tennis where you couldn't talk to your coach.
Yeah.
And so players would
That's
just
right. You're a big tennis guy.
Yeah, so players would just look at their coaches and be like,
yeah,
and they would kind of just be like, they were trying to give him hand motions that wouldn't get him in trouble and whatever.
It's not weird. That's pretty. I like that.
I kind of got that vibe that that's how she kind of looks at her dad,
because it happens a ton.
Yeah, I feel like she looks to him a lot, and he was finally over whatever her antics were in that moment, complaining to the refs or flopping or whatever it was, and he just goes, "Stop it!"
Yeah, I
like pretty emphatically.
Like kind of in that moment, I was like, "Dang, I don't know you, but I think I like you."
Yeah, no, I was riding with Caitlin Clark's dad at that point.
Because I'm also not one of those people that I'm not put off by the way she plays either. Like we got to get over, even if you're not like
it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me because there are a lot of competitive people like that. We just don't.
We're not used to seeing it from the women's game.
Yeah, you just
honestly, we're not.
You just don't see it like that.
Yeah.
So I don't knock the.
I also, if you're hyper competitive, you will absolutely get away with everything they will let you.
Yeah.
Right? Like we see it with LeBron all the time. We saw it with Kobe. We saw it with Jordan. All the great players will get away with every single thing you allow them to because it makes them better. Kobe has talked about how he used to study what spots on the floor were blind spots for referees so he could get away with whatever he wanted in those spots. Right? He'd go, okay, I know this guy's supposed to be positioned here and this guy's supposed to be positioned here. That means they can't really see me here, or I'm being screened from their field of vision right here. How is that any different than knowing that you can get away with a little chicken wing on your drive?
She doesn't.
That doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all.
No, not one bit.
If you're competitive, you take advantage of everything at your disposal.
Okay, Mike Tomlin.
He looked tired yesterday.
Yeah, my man said, if you like competition, this is what you want.
Pressing. He looked like
he said, but it is important to have some sort of starting pecking order.
Sure.
He was all in on competition yesterday.
I'm sure this is not related.
But
it looked like he was already exasperated by Russell Wilson.
See, you want it to be that way. I'm not falling in.
That's what I said. I'm sure it's not that.
And guess what? Russell's got plenty of meat left on that bone, according to Mike T.
Hey,
so how about that?
Steel City, let's weld.
Such a hater.
Coming up
How about them apples?
I know, right?
You like apples? Coming up on the show today at 8:30, we've got Omaha Supernovas head coach Laura Kuhn.
With the cool voice.
With the super cool voice. She's got that voice for radio. We love it.
She does got a great radio voice.
At 9, we've got Gary Davenport from Bleacher Report talking about NFL. We can maybe deep dive into the dark circles under Mike Tomlin's eyes. Say,
of course, it's Russ.
Wait, what do we got going on?
At least he cut his hair.
Who, Russ?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
That's good. He was looking a little goofy.
It's kind of a brush cut now. I don't think that was gonna. The whole free flowing locks and curls thing, I might not have played.
It wasn't going to play in the Steel City.
I don't know.
Coming up at 9:45, we will talk to Brent Hubbs of volquest.com. That is not a telecom communications company, Volquest. No, it's a Tennessee Volunteers website.
Yeah.
We will talk about the Creighton matchup with the Tennessee Volunteers here at the end of the show. In the meantime, you can get a hold of us at 888-638-4876. If you have any takes that you'd like to, if you'd like to wonder what the bags under Mike Tomlin's eyes are all about.
He doesn't get enough salt water.
Are they Russ related? Are they not? If you're trying to figure out, is Deion Sanders just a bad dad?
He definitely has a different approach.
He does. That's the nicest possible way to put it.
He definitely has a different approach.
Yeah, it's I'm just saying if something
but his kid they're productive though.
So far.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I get it. But
So
I'm just saying, for all the crap that we gave LeVar Ball, he didn't actually do anything. He just talked a lot.
Yeah.
Like, Dion is actually meddling. Like, actually messing with, and not just his kids, but Travis Hunter, too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know this, but he has said it on numerous occasions.
My man.
It's like his son.
That's fine. I get it. All right, cool. I appreciate you looking out for the kid.
Gotta be pretty secure to be other teammates, don't you?
Or maybe that's why everybody left last year after they were 4-8.
Well, I don't know.
It's hard to say. It's either, it could be that. Could be that he constantly throws his players under the bus. I don't know which one it is. Hey, I need you to protect my son better.
Your delivery is a riot.
What'd I do?
Hard to say. Yeah, I detected a note of sarcasm.
You know what else is hard to say? Hey, Shohei, where's that money? You didn't know?
Oh, now we got the Shohei jokes.
You didn't know?
I don't know, man. Like, I think people that don't like him, and you'd think this would be me.
I don't even dislike him. Just the story sounds like nonsense.
You think?
Yeah, I don't buy it.
No.
Maybe
Maybe they have an arrangement because his interpreter could easily throw him under the bus.
Yes.
So why hasn't he? Does he think he's just getting more money?
I wonder
how much money would you have to give me if I was looking at going to jail?
Is he going to jail though?
No,
that's the thing.
I don't think so.
If he's not going to jail, then or maybe Shohei actually did bail him out of like a $4.5 million debt, and he's like, "Thanks, buddy, for not letting me get killed. I'll go ahead and take a couple months in prison."
Yeah, like
seems like a fair trade to me.
I just maybe I'm naive, but why are we assuming that Shohei was the one betting?
I don't think he was the one betting.
I don't think he was
the.
I don't think he want him to be the one.
No, betting. I don't think he was the one betting. I have a hard time thinking he wasn't aware of the money leaving his account or wasn't aware of helping out his buddy.
I think he was aware.
That I don't think he was the one gambling.
Yeah.
I don't care about that at all.
Because it's just weird how people want this to be like.
Here's my point.
And we're just not very thoughtful, right? Because we automatically go to like Pete Rose.
I don't think it's that.
And it's unsubstantiated, and it's not even the same thing.
No.
It's just reckless, and it's not very smart, right? Like, I think you're kind of showing that you either haven't really studied the topic or you're just being funny. And if you're just being funny, that's fine. I mean, everybody has their own sense of humor. I mean,
yeah, I'm hilarious.
Yeah, just ask.
Yep. Okay, so let me just. Here's why I don't think it's plausible that Shohei Ohtani wasn't aware of the money leaving his account. Okay.
I don't think you're going to get much argument from me.
Now, I don't think he was gambling, or I don't think we know enough to say he was gambling. So I don't care about that part. It's not a Pete Rose thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're being told the whole story. So until this year, he had, I say only, made about $40 million in salary.
From Major League Baseball.
Yes. So he's got other stuff going on. I get that.
Yeah,
I have no idea what that looks like.
Yeah, so the stories, like, this was even before
he signed.
Yeah.
Before he came over.
Like, his endorsements were 4 times his Major League Baseball salary.
Which is fine. And maybe that's where some of this money came from. But I think people are assuming it's like, oh, he's got $700 million. Why would we notice $4.5 million is missing? He didn't have $700 million and still doesn't, because they're not paying that in real time, right? They're deferred a ton of that money. California taxes, that's $20 million take home, basically, right on the money of $20 million take home. $4.5 million is like 25% of his money.
Yeah.
Now, again, endorsement money, I don't know what that looks like. It's a lot. I get that. But he's not so rich. Like, he's not a billionaire.
See, now that's the part. So you haven't wanted to speculate yet. I'm surprised you want to go there.
Well, no, because I think I've heard so many people just say, well, I mean, it's only $4.5 million.
People can make you dumber.
They can.
Because that right there, the number is not even relative to how much he's making. It's relative to how much you can wire. That's a ton of money.
Yes.
So it's not even,
because it's in a bunch of $500,000.
Let's say he only has $5 million.
Yeah.
To wire $4.5 million is still a ton of money. Let's say he has $100 million.
Still a lot of money.
$4.5 million
Still
is a ton to
still
wire.
a lot of money.
Yeah, like what he has as a revenue source is kind of inconsequential or irrelevant or doesn't matter or whatever you want to use.
Don't know if it's inconsequential because the lower that number gets, the less plausible the story seems.
So, Ravi, how many stories
Mhm.
have you heard? See, this is why I like to think.
Okay.
How many stories have you heard of people going bankrupt that are relatively bright
Mhm.
because of bad business ventures or money that was taken from
Sure.
money people?
A ton.
How many?
A ton.
More than 20?
Guess what, though?
More than 20?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
More than 50?
Probably.
Okay. Calvin Johnson just told a story
Mhm.
the other day of why he handles his own money.
Mhm.
Because he lost $30 million in a business deal, almost.
Here's the difference.
Okay.
Why isn't his interpreter handling his money?
See, that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Because we can't answer that question, doesn't mean it's not a thing. So let's say his interpreter is part of his business team. I would assume that to be the case.
I would not.
Why? Because if you're gonna do business or you're not gonna handle business, what if Shohei is kind of a hands-offy kind of guy?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Couldn't you entertain that?
For sure.
Does that seem crazy?
Well, it depends on what you mean by part of his business team, right? I assume if this is his personal interpreter, he's there with him at business meetings, whatever. So if that's what you mean by part of his business team, yes.
Yeah. What do you think? You think he's got a piece of the pie?
I mean, does he have access to accounts? Like, that's a different thing. Being part of the conversation, having access to accounts are different things.
Maybe. So when he says stole,
Mhm.
does that mean, hey, some of this you can use for blank?
Yeah, you have discretionary funds, whatever.
You just can't do this.
You can't go above this. Like,
yeah.
You're not.
So we don't know that.
That's fair,
right? I mean, you can't just be falling for the okie doke, can you?
For which okie doke?
Because there's lots of things that I haven't heard anybody talk about in all these little talking head shows because they want the sensationalism of it. But my dumb personality is, how'd we get here? Right? So I want to know the back. I'm trying to find out like backstories. Like, how could this happen?
Sure.
So
I think if he had access to his accounts, why? Is that a fair question?
No, because Ravi, it happens all the time.
But most of the time, 99% of the stories that you were telling me that I've heard about.
I know we think only black people have posses, but that's not true.
No, that's not what I was saying.
And Mr. L2.
Yeah.
Do you know who is notorious for being gamblers?
Yeah, there's a huge Asian gambling community.
1000%. So, I mean, huge.
Yeah, no, I find all of that plausible.
Okay.
My biggest hang up is in 99%
Is this because you want it to be?
No, I don't understand it.
Okay, so if you're trying to crack the code, then you at least have to enter. Okay, this is a possibility. If you really want to,
no, I understand it's
right?
a possibility,
Okay.
but my next question is why.
Okay.
I understand it's a possibility that the interpreter had access to accounts.
Mm-hmm.
My question then is why?
Because I think a lot of people that make a ton of money, that have a lot of different entities, have people that make moves on their behalf. Now, we can argue whether that's smart or not,
or whether an interpreter should be one of those people.
Bro, like, listen, you keep dumbing down the fact that he's an interpreter.
I'm not trying to dumb it down.
No, hang on. No. Yeah, but you did, though. You did. So you can't get that back.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd let an interpreter. So we can read into what you mean by that. Your delivery was of sarcasm.
Certain people with certain jobs that should have access to your money.
How about this?
And some that shouldn't.
How about this?
Okay.
How about if he does business or had business experience and he happens to be in his interpreter?
That's great.
What if he's not his interpreter by it's the nature of their relationship?
Then that makes more sense.
Okay, so you gotta be willing to be able to think.
So that's the why, though. I mean, if that's the explanation,
I don't know if it is
right, but if it is, that's a pretty easy why.
Yeah, but I thought of this one, and I'm not even that smart. Like, so why? So nobody else can think of this, or we just.
My issue is when I hear Shohei talk.
Yeah,
that was never addressed.
So what touched my nerve?
Yeah,
is I've been hearing this, and it's not you.
Mhm.
You just happen to be on the receiving end of the discussion because I'm talking to
It's
you
all right.
and anybody else that's listening. We keep throwing the term interpreter around like it's like, I mean, nothing against people that pick up dog poop for a living because I love our guy,
Yeah.
but
We make it like it sounds like a menial labor job.
yeah,
And I don't think
like
that's
that
true.
means you lack aptitude. He clearly
Listen,
clearly
every
was
interpreter-
bright enough to get away with $4.5 million. And let's say,
see, you're making an assumption there. Because if you're making the assumption that Shohei didn't know, if you say he's bright enough to get away with it.
I'm making the assumption based on what the 12-minute monologue that Shohei read to us yesterday. That's what he used the word stole.
He did.
Once Shohei uses the word stole, Shohei himself, it is no longer an assumption.
You're taking him for his word. Is
Well,
that what I mean? Is that fair?
Yeah, but
So let me put this out there. And I don't know how much this is the case. There's this book by Malcolm Gladwell called Talking to Strangers.
I like Malcolm Gladwell.
Have you heard that one particularly?
No.
So basically the entire premise of it is how and this could be both a positive for me or a negative for me, just depending on how I'm interpreting this. See what I did there? There's actual studies that have been done that we read into how we think people should react in a situation.
Which is what I'm trying to keep you from doing.
Right. No, but I think also, but a lot of that is cultural, right? So I don't know the intricacies of how business relationships work between Japanese people because I know there's a cultural difference there. To know that, and this, I'm not trying to say this to be stereotypical here.
Which means it's going to sound stereotypical.
Probably. But how much of this is the guy falling on his sword for Shohei and allowing him to use words like stolen?
Well, that could be a thing. That is definitely,
you know what I mean?
That's definitely a working theory.
That's why I don't hear stolen and automatically think.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. That's definitely a working theory. And I started out by saying, I mean, how much money would I have to pay to go to jail?
Right.
And you said, well, I don't know. Is he going to jail?
I don't know.
So do you think amongst his community and his people or whatever his sphere of influence is, his tight circle? So Shohei's saying, hey, listen, Ipe, you're gonna fall on this sword. I've got a bunch of nefarious, because you started out by saying you don't think Shohei's gambling.
I don't. I think he was helping out his buddy who was helping his buddy out of a situation.
You think why? So why work the smear campaign?
Because if Shohei knows about the gambling, then you're at risk, at least maybe in his mind. This is where my mind would go.
Okay.
I would say I'm at risk now of being tied to professional gambling. And then my career's in jeopardy. Now, if this guy just takes it and you just bury this guy and he was a rogue agent and he stole from me and whatever, then I'm cut from it. I'm a victim here.
Do you think the bookie knows who's placing the bets?
Probably.
Okay.
But do you think he knows?
Think he's getting another $4.5 million to say nothing?
I mean, he's got the $700 million coming. Maybe he is.
I don't know.
Or maybe there was enough of a plausible deniability situation for Shohei. I don't know.
Throw your hands up in the air.
I don't know. We got more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We've got a... So, Sindelar messaged us. I didn't pre-read this. I'm going to read it live, which is a little dangerous.
Oh, okay.
So here we go.
All right. See, that's trust.
It is.
Would you let him spend some of your money?
Absolutely not.
I used to do this, and I always get caught. I am Team Ron Burgundy. Knock yourself out here.
From Alex Sindelar. Here's how I frame the Shohei stuff. Ravi, congrats. You just landed a huge contract to work as a radio host in the Czech Republic. I happen to speak Czech and understand the market, banking, etc. over there. While you're busy doing endorsements in your show, the thing you're great at and occupied with, I'm dealing with your money and booking and translating for you. You're trusting me to do this. Then, because I crave chaos, I start gambling with your money and I suck at it.
Why can I hear him saying
that? That's the best part. He like writes in his own voice.
And he's typically that's what he does.
Yeah, no, he's hilarious. And that listen.
I remember for a couple of years ago, like I don't know where I came across him, but I kept asking. I said to Shane, I was like, why don't we ever talk to him? I said, this guy's funny.
No, he's very funny.
And Shane goes, I don't. He kind of did a little research. He goes, I think it's just Creighton baseball. You want to use him for Creighton baseball? I said, I think that's what he does.
I already told him we'll have him on for Creighton baseball.
It's like,
yeah.
And this has been going on, and I can't remember what I think it was something he tweeted.
Oh yeah.
And I just was like, ooh, he's making fun of somebody.
He usually is.
But anyway, like, okay.
I understand that scenario, and I understand it's plausible.
Okay, so listen, this is my man, Channel 3, Sean. And he's Channel 3, Sean. Super sports savvy.
Yeah.
Although he's Chiefs fan, so he take that
I don't know how savvy.
All right, but so this is what my man said.
Okay.
So let's process through this. He says, hey, good morning. He says, you keep saying he said the word stole. He didn't say stole. The guy interpreting for him said stole. We don't know exactly what Shohei said. Maybe the Japanese word that we interpret as stole actually has a different meaning. So my response back to him was, I said, that would be pretty next level. I said, good thing, this is me just being sarcastic. I said, good thing there's other people listening that speak the language that could confirm or deny that. Are we just going to question that one word? And he said, not necessarily. My point is in a situation like this, where we're wondering if the guy is on the level, I would bring my own interpreter because I want to know exactly what Shohei said. Here's the thing, though, Channel 3, Sean. He wrote it.
Yeah, it was a written statement. Both of them were reading off of written
statements.
It was
a written statement. So I don't like, would you entertain the idea that an interpreter would go rogue?
I am not entertaining that idea. And here's why.
Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do.
Okay.
But did
I do a good job of reading real time?
Yeah, I think so.
He's a good writer.
And Sean is not the only one with this theory, right? Or with this suspicion. I saw a lot of it on the internet yesterday.
Yeah, me too. And it was driving me up the wall.
Here's my question. Why? What good does it do? Because Shohei can literally say whatever he wants.
And there's 6 million other people in the country that know what he's reading or said.
Not to mention, you think nobody in Japan was listening?
Like,
he's the most.
It's the biggest market in the world.
We know how crazy things got with Keisei, right?
Yes.
And the Japanese media and them sending people over here. You don't think the most famous person from their country is under constant news media coverage, and not a single one of those people.
Dude, he has his own separate media. Not even the Dodgers. He has his own separate.
That are literally dedicated to following him.
Yes.
It's like he's the Queen of England. Like, that is how he is treated with paparazzi and media or whatever.
Is that the lady we talked about last week?
No, that's Princess Kate. Queen of England's actually dead. It's now King Charles. And
the old lady that we used to see looking pretty distinguished a couple years ago, Shane, Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth, R.I.P.
The second, I believe.
Yeah. Although
I remember,
you could take colonizing and get out of here.
I'm not, the whole colony thing and monarchy. I'm like, I'm out.
As an Indian guy, I don't have like a real soft spot for the English monarchy. Stole the gems right off my Taj Mahal on their way out.
What are we doing?
I'm trying to talk about Shohei Ohtani. But colonizer.
Is that how we got this salt?
I don't know.
Spices.
We got salt. No, you know what's great is
the
English conquered the whole world and searched for spices, and they don't use a single one of them. We'll end up with boiled tomatoes for breakfast. You ever had English food? It's really bad. Traditional English food is terrible.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Okay. Had to be a part of Mensa to follow the show.
Where were we? Shohei. No, okay. So what's the value?
What is wrong with you?
What did I do?
Okay, never mind. Keep going.
What's the value of Shohei saying one thing and his interpreter saying another thing?
I don't know.
Like, if somebody can explain that to me, I will entertain your theory. But if Shohei's up there to clear his name, why would he say something that would then implicate himself? And you think the interpreter's covering for him?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. And it's not like he said something on accident on the fly, because, again, it was a written statement. Are you crying? Is that?
No, that was really funny.
No, that's what I meant. Like, I thought your eyes were watering a little bit.
They are. It's really funny.
So that's That's if somebody can explain that to me. If somebody explains the value to me of Shohei saying one thing and his interpreter saying another thing while they both have written statements,
Yeah,
I will entertain it.
I just don't get the whole like we're trying to there's plenty of things to poke hole. Like just start with
there's enough things to poke holes in this situation. That one doesn't make sense.
That's not
that one doesn't make sense
That's
to me.
not one.
If you want to go, why does the interpreter or whoever this person was
Have access to
why does he have access to the money?
Sure.
Did Shohei actually know that the money was gone? Because the initial story was that he was covering for his buddy, right? Where did that story come from? Was it just something somebody made up? Was it like
That's good.
Where did that story come from?
Okay.
That Shohei originally was covering a gambling.
So originally, I thought it came from the book. Like the guy said
from the bookmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ohtani covered this guy's bets.
So here's what I think happened. This is my working theory. Is that's what happened.
After you were so combative this morning, how can you have a legitimate theory? You were only open to like one thing.
I'm a total wild card, DB. You never know what's going to happen.
It's the whole
Jim
thing
off the rails.
Okay.
I'm just saying when
like President Progressive, like keep going.
When the British left India, they went up to the Taj Mahal, popped out all the jewels in GTFO. Go look up where the crown jewels of that crown came from. They're not English. It's not a real resource-rich country.
Are you being serious?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm dead serious.
The dude's temp is like 1036. We're gonna have to get him some help here.
I am dead serious. I want my jewels back.
All right. Working theory.
My working theory is that Shohei knew about the debt.
Okay.
Covered the gambling debt. I don't think the interpreter had access to his accounts. I think Shohei paid that money and then found out from Major League Baseball, hey, bud, I don't care if you made the bets or not. You paid a bookmaker. You're in deep.
So you think
and now they're going backwards to cover.
You think the guy that doesn't want us to know the name of his dog or in public media or wanted it leaked where he was going to sign, and if it did, he wasn't going to sign with that team, paid the bookmaker directly?
Not directly. I think it came from his account.
Okay. You just said
so directly, whatever. I think Shohei was.
You think he made that gaffe?
I think he was behind the payment. I don't know what that looks like.
Duh.
Right.
We know where it came from.
Right, but I don't think the interpreter stole the money.
You think so?
I think maybe the interpreter was the one that actually made the payment. Maybe there was a go-between. I think Shohei knew about the payment and where it was going.
How about this?
Mm-hmm.
What if his interpreter / business partner / handler
/ money manager,
all the things
/ stockbroker.
As if people don't let stockbrokers handle millions daily here. But again, this is some unbelievable thing here. It's just people just being disingenuous to like poke at the story. But anyway, what if the guy said, "Hey, I need $4.5 million," and didn't really say what it was for originally, then told him?
Then Shohei's dumber than I thought.
Well,
that's entirely possible. That's a valid theory.
You don't think he's very bright anyway by letting a guy have access to his money.
Fair enough.
I'm just saying, like, what if?
I mean, I don't know how close you got to be and how much money you have to make to say, hey, I need $4.5 million and not ask any follow-up questions.
Maybe they're boys.
The Tennessee Volunteers are headed back to the Sweet 16. Rick Barnes outlasts Rodney Terry. And the Tennessee Volunteers. The 13th, Ziegler. No! Oh, Dalton connect with the follow jam. Wow! And it's another
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. What are you making that look for already?
I just think Jordan's text was funny.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as live from the Pillar Exterior stage. What's up?
Can you handle having questionable sports takes, but people still think you're funny?
Yeah, I would prefer that. I would rather have people be like, I don't know if he knows anything about sports, but he's funny as hell. I'll take that.
I've just never learned that in history class.
So that's 80% of what made it so funny.
Was Shane just be like, oh.
Like his head was tilted, his mouth was kind of open. I just happened to peek at him because I looked just like that.
Yeah, he's kind of got the confused puppy head tilt where he's like, what?
And it was over something stupid that I said, which is not uncommon. I'm like, oh, is that the? You're like, no, that would be the Queen. I was like, oh yeah, and then you just did that.
A little extemporaneous rant there.
All right, now my man. So
I will say, Travis says, yeah, who the F says, hey, can you spot me $4.5 million? Sure, here's 5.
See, here we go. See, you guys. Like, and he's gonna be a lawyer.
That wasn't.
I was gonna say I would not hire you if you think that narrow-minded.
He's a criminal prosecutor. Don't worry.
Let's.
Hopefully, you're not hiring him.
Hey, so if it's all relative, right? To somebody's means. So if somebody's in trouble for what the amount is, they would know who to go to.
Sure.
Like, why is that so hard to fathom?
That's not hard to fathom for me. What's hard to fathom for me is that there are no follow-up questions. Like if somebody is borrowing money from me that is proportional to this, whatever my means are versus his, and it's proportional, right? I'd be like, okay, what's up? Like, what's going on? Are you in trouble? Do you need some help? Like, where are we at? Like, what is the money
But
for?
what if he told him that? What? Listen, is Poltergeist here? Do you believe in aliens?
The colonizers.
Do you believe in
talking
aliens?
about them? Yeah.
I need to know this. We're going to work together.
100%.
Okay, we can work together.
Yeah.
Just I don't know why people don't believe like we're not the only people in this universe.
It's scary.
It's okay. But why are the lights?
No idea. Probably because it's late March and looks like it's December outside.
Yeah.
No, the wind was pretty nasty. I'm guessing that was a wind situation.
I got my oldest taking all the youngers to school today. How about that?
Maya?
I want to call him so bad.
Or Caleb?
She's in school. By the way, she called me. I have to call her back. She's in Lincoln at Wesleyan.
That's what I thought. That's why I didn't know if she was home.
So he's out because they have ACTs today. So he took Micah and Zoe to school. And Zoe going to school without her mom has to be some sort of traumatic experience. But anyway, like I get you would ask follow-up questions, but we don't know the relationship. Like there are certain people, I'm telling you, everybody has these people where if you asked me something and I was capable, I would just do it.
Yeah.
Like, why do we act like this is so, because we can't get our mind around the number? This is chump change to Ohtani. Do you know how much money he left on the $700 million deal to defer for 10 years?
A lot.
A lot.
Most of it.
Do you know why?
Because
he can.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, go read his contract. It's unbelievably Dodger friendly.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We like to make jokes because we can't read, or we don't read, or we don't comprehend. So we poke fun. But anyway, I don't even like the guy. He's fine.
DB here for Shohei.
I didn't want him as a Dodger. But because I hate the hype. It's my personality. It doesn't make me right. It makes me weird, right? It's seriously.
It doesn't make me right. It makes me weird. Can we get that on a T-shirt, Sasha?
Doesn't make me right. It makes me weird. No, what I'm saying is I've been conditioned.
Yeah.
Right. I'm never going to be bigger than what we're trying to do.
Like wear conditioning.
All of it.
Yeah.
You're an idiot. Funny, but an idiot.
I can live with that.
Like
that's a trade I'll make.
So that's what I gravitate towards.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
That it was my whole thing with
you like the head down grinder, like do your work, do your job.
Yeah, and it don't make sense. It's not like this isn't a gimmick thing. Yeah. Like it's hard. Like it's hard to win. It's hard to be good. Being a good team, it's hard. So like I'm a little groomed is probably incorrect to use in 2024, but I've been conditioned.
Conditioned is the right word. Conditioned.
I've been conditioned.
Yeah.
Boy, never mind.
You're gonna make a P. Diddy joke there?
Yes, I was. Get out of my head. Get out. Get out. No, so like that's why I brought up what I did with basketball. And there's no correlation here, I swear, with the Tominaga thing.
Yeah.
Because I felt like even when they went to break and they're down 15,
they're showing Tominaga.
They're showing Tominaga covering his ears after hitting a three. I'm like, see, that's a storyline that people don't know the Nebraska basketball team are going to use because it's television. I know I'm not supposed to do that. Joel slapped my wrist. He said, that's gatekeeping. Don't do that, DB. I'm like, but that's the kind of thing I'm trying to guard against.
You also, so I think you view that.
So that's why I did. I'm like, man, I don't want what comes with this because
it's a circus.
Because and that's not who they've been.
Yeah.
Right. Like Walker Buehler, May, those guys. It's not Kershaw. He is the anti-circus. That dude is a consummate professional
for being as good as they've been, for being as well paid as they are,
for winning as few titles as they have. Go ahead, say it.
I wasn't going to say that.
Stab you in your eye.
I wasn't going to say that. That's what the glasses are for. They block DB's hostilities. No, there's not a lot of drama around them.
Yeah,
for the money, for the location, for the star power.
Still a great farms. Like
not a lot of drama around them. And listen, I saw this firsthand, and maybe there is a correlation here because we mentioned
Daisuke,
the Japanese, with the Japanese media and how aggressive they are with their superstars and the people that they gravitate toward. And this was 20 years ago almost at this point.
So you are talking about Dice K?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, with the Red Sox, and it was a circus. It was hard to
context clues.
Yeah, well, Red Sox fan. I'm kind of a one-trick pony here. I'm going to talk about the Red Sox and calling.
You think anybody's getting this?
I mean, we apparently, I don't know, about 10 times more people are getting this than they're getting anything else this morning. So, apparently a Shohei conversation is more interesting than other stuff. That's fine. But no, I think there is a price. I get wanting to avoid the circus because there's a price to pay.
So that's the really only reason.
And that's fair.
I say I don't like the guy. It's not.
But
it's not true.
You don't like what comes.
I don't want what comes with it,
which is totally fair. I will say though, there was a lot that came with Michael Jordan too, and maybe not at his own fault. But there was a circus with that too.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah,
I think I get the concept, so I'll entertain the whatever. But you're comparing apples to oranges, and Ravi, L2. What's over here? No, yeah, L2 is over here.
The trigger or the little toggle.
Yes.
Yeah.
It ruined the NBA for a while because Stern and Thorne rolled the dice to market it to one singular entity, Michael Jordan. It cost the NBA in the long run after he retired because they didn't recover for like 20 years, 15.
15. I'll give you 15.
15.
20's too long, but 15. Yeah.
The next Jordan.
Until LeBron started winning titles.
So I wouldn't use the NBA as my analogy because they did it wrong. They got away with it.
Yes.
They got away with it, but they didn't do it.
But Shohei is less like. So I use Jordan, and that's on me.
No, but they are mega. Like
there is.
I mean, I get the name comp. The sport thing is not right.
The sport in and of itself is more of a place with Bird and Magic than they were with Jordan. Like
no,
baseball.
He transitioned that, especially if
no. I'm talking about baseball. Baseball is more in a place like the NBA was pre Bird and Magic, where you don't have any bit of gravity.
Yeah, and everybody, that's what they think the downside of Major League Baseball is it's the marketing the face, right? The marketing of the face, the marketing.
And so that's, I think, what they're trying to do.
But I would argue that part of its allure is the fact that you can have an Arizona play for a World Series.
That's fair.
That you can have a Marlins franchise, although they had spent quite a bit with Burnett and Willis and Kevin Brown.
That was still a pretty low market franchise,
like
small market franchise.
I think that's the beauty of it.
It for sure is.
So
you don't have a lot of.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. I just mean from a marketing standpoint, right? I think
the product is all wrong. We keep forcing Trout to want to be the face of baseball. He clearly doesn't. He's still a great player, and people still come to see Mike Trout.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to be that.
Yeah, and that's fine.
And that's fine. He doesn't have to.
So, but it works for baseball. And we may say the numbers are dying, but it's like anything else. But we want to pick the low hanging fruit. It's like fundraising. It's like our Fortune 500 companies here. It's like sports. There is a generational gap that we haven't reached yet to further grow whatever product it is we're talking about. We're missing like 15 to 20 years of people in a certain age group that hasn't bridged the sport because of the connectivity problem. It's not the sport itself. It's how do you connect
society.
That's 100%
because
society.
Here's what's happened.
So that's why I don't buy that.
Here's what's happened, I think.
But we're afraid to talk about some people are just hard to cater to because they have the attention span of guppies.
Well,
and they haven't made enough money yet in its totality to be worth the headache.
Well, that and the people making the decisions haven't given up power yet. So instead of having the generation directly above people making those decisions, so there's a little more connectivity, you have 2 and 3 generations removed in power seats that really don't understand the up and coming growing market. And so it becomes really impossible to market towards. Coming up next, I have no idea what we're going to talk about. It's a crapshoot.
What time is it?
It's 8:00.
Jeez.
We'll talk about something here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back.
The 13th, Ziegler. No! Oh, no! The 13th, Dalton
We
connects
will be
with
back.
the follow jam. Wow! The Tennessee Volunteers. Wow! The Tennessee Volunteers are headed back to the Sweet 16. Rick Barnes outlast Rodney Terry.
Certainly hoping it seems like the lid's been on the basket for the last 2 weeks. And whether people believe it or not, I think we can keep them on. If we can do that, it'll give us obviously chances that we got here, we came here to win this tournament. Whether people believe it.
We will be back.
To win this tournament.
We will be back.
To this day. To this day.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as live from the Pillar Exterior stage. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We spent an hour talking about Shohei Ohtani somehow.
Or thought process.
Thinking through it. It was a good conversation. If you missed it, go back and listen on the pod or on YouTube. Or
There's nothing wrong with thinking.
No, I like thinking. Thinking is fun. You know what I was thinking yesterday?
No.
Why is Darren DeVries going to West Virginia?
That's bugging you, isn't
It
it?
really is.
I know.
It seems like a weird fit. And
Well-
don't get me wrong, this is not a I don't think he's good enough for West Virginia. I understand why West Virginia would want Coach DeVries. I don't totally understand why Coach DeVries would want West Virginia. Maybe it's the best offer on the table. Maybe he's looking at the landscape and says, I don't know what else is going to be available. But it's a little bit of a head scratcher for me.
Do you think Michigan or he reached out to the other first?
If I was Michigan,
Or do you think May was just the hot guy?
So that's kind of what I want to get into here, because
you had Sprinkle, May, and probably Coach DeVries, right?
if you're Michigan,
Mhm.
I know what I think. If you're Michigan, would you rather have Dusty May or Coach DeVries?
DeVries' track record of winning is longer, but May has the Final Four.
How much does that matter?
That I don't know.
Because, and this is probably mostly anecdotal, but if you look at the guys that get hired after their hot run, and I get it was a year removed, but a lot of those guys don't succeed at a super high level.
You want like a little longer body of work?
I would rather have a consistent level of accomplishment than I would one really deep NCAA run, right? Like Dan Munson, who just got let go at Long Beach State despite making the NCAA tournament, which is a little funny, is a great example. He gets the Elite Eight run at Gonzaga, immediately goes to Minnesota, and he's been a 500 coach most of his career, right? At Gonzaga, he was only there for 2 years, but Minnesota and Long Beach State, which he's been there forever, mostly a 500 coach. He has the one really nice run that he's made a whole career out of. But you look at him, you look at Andy Enfield, he gets the Sweet 16 run with FGCU, and he's okay. He's not special. He's just a guy, right? We look at Shaka.
He's unfortunately he's become the guy that hired a staff that could get a couple of brothers to come play for him because, I mean like birth brothers.
Yes, not like
because
with like an ER brothers.
Their dad were on staff.
Not like brothers.
Or then you get I get that. Or
look at Shaka.
What about Tommy Lloyd?
What about Tommy Lloyd?
Is that more of your working theory? Or you're looking at a guy that had been a head coach?
A head coach.
Okay.
Head coach. I mean, the assistants, I have a hard time deciphering because you don't really know what people's roles are on staffs, right, at any different place. So I have a hard timing like, well, he's the recruiter or he's this, that, whatever. But I'm talking about sitting head coaches. You go to Shaka Smart. It took him a really long time to do anything. And this is the first time he's made it past the second round since that Final Four.
Let me ask you something. Do you think basketball works like football, where schools look for builders, right? Do you think West Virginia looks at themselves and says, gosh, you know what? We're not going to be a portal. We're not a portal team, probably.
Okay.
We want to build and develop.
I would guess West Virginia doesn't see themselves that way, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think West Virginia is very proud of their basketball history.
Because I think that anybody in basketball can be a portal player, right?
Yes, in terms of schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, any school can turn themselves into a portal.
And you can quickly rebuild.
Yeah. I don't know that schools, especially Power 5 schools, Power 6 schools, whatever you want to call it,
look at basketball like football.
I don't know that they look for builders. Now, that's kind of what makes Coach Mack.
We hired one, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what makes Coach Mack and Creighton unique. But it was also a very unique situation. Creighton was a mid-major when he got hired. Mm-hmm. They were a mid-major, and he kind of coached them like a mid-major and developed and recruited like a mid-major. And I don't mean that in quality of players.
Although you could make the case, though, that his portal history is
very good.
It's unbelievable.
But it's also very specific, right? He doesn't blanket slate go get portal guys. He goes and finds points of need, right? He goes and gets guys that he needs. He went and got Stephen Ashworth because Ryan Nemhard left, right? Like he went and got Isaac Trout because Arthur Kaluma left, although he might have been.
They had to practice against Foster for a year.
They had to practice against Foster for a year. They had to practice Watson and Huff for a year. They got Ryan Hawkins, who was filling a very specific need. Like they went and got Baylor Shireman. They are very successful in the portal, They don't do it a ton in terms of making the roster over. But again, he reminds me, and this is very high praise because you know how much I admire this guy as a coach. He is doing to the best of his ability what Jay Wright did at Villanova. Now, obviously, there's no national titles or Final Fours for Coach McDermott yet, but Jay Wright, at the beginning of his tenure at Villanova, made the one Final Four run, realized he had access to better players, and was bad for a good stretch after that. Almost got fired from Villanova because he left the identity of who he was. There are builders in college basketball. There's not very many of them. And I don't know that schools specifically look for that.
I don't think you can be in college basketball anymore.
I think you have to have an unbelievable situation to be allowed to. And most of the time, that's at a mid-major level or below. It's really hard to do at a high major level.
I don't know. I think the mid-major is so afraid of getting guys plucked.
Sure.
Like that's something
but
that they're
what's
going to
the
have to
option?
They're going to have to reconcile. I get it because you're
not going to recruit bad players.
Yeah. No, I know.
Right? So you either have, hey, I'm going to try and get 3 years out of this guy. I want one okay year, one pretty good year, one great year, then he's gone.
Well, your eye for talent has to be unbelievable.
You also almost have to operate your program like it's a JUCO. You expect guys to be there for 2 years.
Okay, so
and just know there's going to be a ton of roster turnover.
So do you think? So Crutch actually, they inherited Fiddler. They didn't recruit him. So he was there for the first year. You think they were thinking all along, is he to develop? We're not going to have this guy for the duration. We're like a JUCO.
I don't know
because you and I have debated. We didn't debate. We talked about a level in which you feel like Omaha could have a sustainable program if they would look at the development in state differently.
Yep.
Which is going to take a little more time.
Yes.
Because now, listen, you got Kyle the Third in the portal. You got Frankie in the portal. So it's like one of those. They both did what you kind of would hope happened if they both were at Omaha, not just the one, right? Take a year, starting to get better, really good
year, and then move on.
I don't. So
hear me out, though. Hear me out. We talk about how much we admire Coach Rule for the way he handled Tony White and the way he handles Tony White.
Okay.
He knows Tony White's not going to be here long term. He knows that without a shadow of a doubt. Why can't mid-major coaches operate that way? Why can't they operate like Cal, where they know? And listen, I know we have issues with Cal, but this isn't one of them for me. Coach Calipari knows 100% these guys are not coming back for year 2. And if they come back for year 2, they're sure as hell not coming back for year 3. And if they do, they're probably not good enough to play for me, right? Why can't you be invested in their success and understand that that's better for you long term? Like, why is that not a thing? Why is that not okay? I understand that there's probably some resentment towards the bigger programs for coming and plucking your guys, but if you're the program that consistently sends guys from the Summit League to the Big East or from the Summit League to the Big Ten, you don't think more guys are going to want to come to you? Like if you not only develop them that way, but you embrace your part in their journey in that way. Because you know what? It's really easy to do. It's really easy to want to squeeze and hold on to Tony White and say, oh man, stay here as long as you want or stay here as long as you can. And you try and offer him more and more and more to get him to stay here. But guess what? Tony White's a superstar. He's leaving. You know what that's great for? Hiring the next defensive coordinator at Nebraska.
Well, here's the thing about college coaches in basketball. This circle may be even tighter than the one in football. And I know there's 3 times as many people, but they see each other so
all
much.
The time because they're at AAU, they're at the gyms. Like
know what I mean?
Every single coach in the world goes to the Final Four. Like, yes.
So
is what I described plausible?
Yeah.
Is it realistic?
I just don't know for how long.
What keeps it from being realistic long term?
Finding the products that you can continually make that other people will covet in 2 to 3 years. That's a tough system to.
It is.
It's a tough system to regurgitate.
You know what's a harder system to regurgitate?
Find good players.
A, finding good players in the first place. B,
no, I just kind of.
I mean, at the mid-major level, it's really hard to so. I mean, threading the needle between a guy that's a good player but not good enough to move on. Threading that needle is harder than developing.
All right. Just need a little clarity.
Yeah, like to me.
And the second point was, so like if I'm developing guys that they're going to eventually
move on.
Is this some sort of open conversation, or are you
banking
on the fact that you're going to get players that understand?
I would recruit on it.
Hey, listen, help the team out.
For a couple
help us out for a couple years.
And
then you'll get to go do your thing.
Because
that would be an unbelievable culture.
It would be, right? But isn't that what we want?
Man, to sustain that,
be really hard. Is it any harder than trying to find good players that aren't good enough to leave? Because that's a pretty fine line.
Man,
and I know that line.
I may pick the latter, but there are some schools that are known for just be here for a little bit
and move on.
Yeah.
Is it any different than Coach Cal being like, hey, I know you're really good.
No, that's different because he's getting the best of the best.
Sure. But you're still
and those guys already know wherever they go, they're not going to be there very long.
And that's okay.
They're not really taking one for the team. They're with a blue blood.
No, they're not taking one for the team.
You know what I mean?
But his strategy of how he operates, he's very open about, hey, you need to move on next year. You're coming here to get to the NBA. Like if you have that open conversation, that's why I said operate like a JUCO, right?
But it hasn't worked for him because he doesn't have the continuity or the chemistry within his basketball teams. His good teams were his older teams that actually had some guys that stuck around for a couple of years.
But here's my question. We're grading mid-majors on a different scale, right? Can it work to make the tournament consistently? Can it work to win your conference consistently? Because here's what I think would happen. Is if you have a reputation, I mean, look at
you know what kind of sounds like you're describing?
What?
GCU. Not GCU. GCU, Grand Canyon.
Of guys that move on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's openly their strategy.
I don't either.
But it sort of looks
when
like
you look at their campus,
yeah,
the money that's invested in all their no, seriously. My kiddo's friend, her best friend goes to GCU. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the premise of GCU is unbelievable. I think it takes you have to market it that way. I don't think it happens by accident.
No, you have to embrace it. This is not something that you could do on accident.
Not sure we could do that here. I'm dead serious.
Why is that?
Because we even struggle to gravitate towards. Now we're getting better, but we even struggle to gravitate towards guys in the portal that Nebraska football is only going to get for 1 or 2 years. Like those aren't our guys.
Okay, but do we view we view Nebraska football differently than we view Omaha basketball?
No, what I'm telling you is I think it's a Nebraska thing. I think it's a state thing. I think it's how we feel about the people that we root for.
Let me ask this though, and I don't mean this to be disparaging to Omaha at all. Do they fly under the radar enough that people only pay attention when they have a star like Frankie Fiddler, or they start winning and have a chance to make the NCAA tournament?
Like Thurman and Hollins and those guys.
Where you're not as.
But even there was the local tie. I don't know.
Because if you're not paying as much attention, maybe you don't care about the nitty gritty of how the guys
because
got
the
there.
Tradeon thing, that stretch.
Yeah, Tradeon and Trayshawn.
There was a local flair that was a draw.
Absolutely.
Now they happened to be really good, but we got Tradeon on the rebound.
Yeah, how did you?
And
go?
So we were okay with that, but because
he was local,
he was from here,
but also because they were good.
Yeah, that's
like I think that matters because I don't want to sit here and be disingenuous and pretend like we go into the roster construction of Omaha basketball the way we do Nebraska football. I mean, that's not real.
No, but what I'm telling you is if you're talking about sustainability and that's how you want to grow the program, everybody around you has to accept that's what it is. You still have some Creighton fans that had a hard time handling. I mean, Coach Mack has done a masterful job of recruiting just enough of his own guys and sprinkling it in with the portal to keep some Creighton fans at bay.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise, you'd be the dirty school up the road. I say that tongue in cheek. Oh, they have too many transfers. There's too much roster turnover, and I don't know who to like. I've heard these things before.
Dave on Twitter mentions a good point. He says, I'm describing the argument of a high-level D1 baseball coach. You need players good enough to get you to Omaha, but not so good that they get drafted so high that they never show up in the first place. And that's a fair. He says, a tough needle to thread.
Kind of.
I mean,
I get the premise, so I'm not going to pick at that. I get it.
I'm familiar with the situation from my end too, because when you're coaching at the NAIA level, you obviously need guys that can compete at that level. But if they get too good, then you're going to get D2 start to offer. If they get too good, you're going to have D1 walk-on offers. And so you're kind of sitting there in this middle ground. And I used to tell this to guys when I would recruit them, because a lot of guys in high school would be like, yeah, I want to, hopefully one day play overseas or something like that. You don't get a lot of guys that I was talking to that talk about the NBA. A lot of guys would be like, hey, I want to play overseas, whatever. And I'm like, listen, man, I appreciate that. I love the dream. I love the grind, the work ethic, whatever. If you're good enough, like, yes, you're going to have an opportunity to play overseas. We've sent guys overseas before. But I was like, if your goal is to play professional basketball, you probably wouldn't be having this conversation with me. You'd be having this conversation with somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? That's a hard conversation to have with a 17-year-old. What an easier conversation to have with a 17-year-old is?
I don't know, though. Is it?
It was. Because a lot of
you're talking about like your recruiting experience.
What's an easier conversation to have with these kids? What's an easier conversation is to say, because this is why I got beat out for JUCOs all the time, because their pitch was, hey, if you succeed here, you go to a D1. I wasn't going to have that conversation because I knew we had never sent a kid to a D1. We've sent a few kids overseas. We've sent a few kids to play professional basketball. Never sent a single kid to play D1. And we had a couple that probably could
have. I think we're kind of selling the student, the kid short.
In what sense?
Because occasionally you'll get folks that aren't operating in the know.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, they'll be able to look at your track record. So you're not going to be able to make up anything anyway. So even if a junior college guy comes to a guy and says, hey, I can get you to a bigger destination.
D1. Yeah.
That's the whole premise of junior college.
100%.
So everybody's operating kind of in the know.
Yeah.
That's different for schools that want to have success in non-major conferences, because you're not.
But the JUCO coaches want to win still, right?
Yeah, but hang on. Listen to what I'm telling you. So for mid-major coaches to sell that, they have to have a track record of being good at it.
Yeah.
If you have a track record of being good at it, the problem kind of takes care of itself. The problem is if you want to use, get where I'm going? So the problem is if you want to use Omaha as an example,
as a stepping stone,
they have to have a track record of doing it. So you need another Frankie Fiddler type or two going on
to prove proof of concept.
So let me go back to what I originally told you. I think Coach Crutch's, and we're only talking about Omaha because it's a tangible example.
Because it's right here in our backyard. Yeah.
I told you I felt like that was their recruiting premise early on, and you didn't really like it. Maybe that was in addition to or separate than you wanted more local guys.
I think there's too many local guys beating them
because what I think you're describing is what that staff originally thought.
And that's fair if that is. What it looked like to me, what they originally thought is the guys around here aren't good enough to help us win. That's how I took it. And I don't know if they viewed it like that or not. I'm probably projecting a little bit.
Yeah, I don't want to say that because I
don't know. I really don't.
Yeah.
But that's why I bristled up at their strategy.
That was their recruiting premise. And I know some people locally, like we know a guy that is so mad with that recruiting blueprint that he talks about it openly.
Yeah.
Saw him a couple Saturdays ago.
Yeah.
Guy that looks like Dana White.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
So I think it's widely known that that's the strategy. We were just trying to decide, does that work? And how many of those guys do you have to put out? Because I imagine Frankie will go back, ask Maddie and those guys that were at practice. I'm guessing he's going to go back to practice today.
Yep. He was at Creighton practice yesterday, if you don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. And which I'm a little surprised at.
Why is that?
Because I think originally when I was thinking about this last week, I was like, the fit.
It's a weird fit.
But it's almost impossible. Number one, they have a tremendous NIL setup.
Yes. They also have a tremendous strength and conditioning setup.
And it's apparently it's virtually impossible to get into that program and leave and be a worse player. So
Certainly seems that way.
Certainly
seems that way.
His track record of getting guys better
is really good.
It's unbelievable.
Here's my question, though.
But I do know their NIL structure this is firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
Their NIL structure is relatively tiered. You got a guy or two.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's
the majority.
Yep.
And you got
but everybody does something.
Back into the
okay.
Guys.
So what would that high end look like for that fit relative to what
it looks at other places
on the open market? Like
because
let's say Kentucky, for instance.
I'm just going to be honest. I don't know if Frankie is that guy at the high major level.
Listen, I'm telling you, he's gonna get.
No, I know he's going to get a bag. I get that.
But that's part of it, though, right?
No,
Because this
is
is the conversation we're talking about.
But if I'm Creighton,
we're talking about the baseline
for sure.
and the development at Creighton. Because Mac's not gonna. It's just not their style.
I don't know.
He's not gonna be a mercenary bag guy.
No,
you have to fit.
And I don't know that Frankie is going to fit in a way that makes Creighton's offer comparable to other places. Because they do have Jackson McAndrew coming in, who I think is unbelievable. They do have Mason Miller coming back, we assume. They do have Isaac Trout coming back, which I think he ends up being a 5, but right now he's a 4.
A year in their fitness program, an offseason in their
he might be back
program,
to a 4.
It will be interesting for.
But I'm also interested to see,
IT.
could he play a stretch 5 and give people nightmares? Can he be 6'10" Ethan Rogge? Because that kind of sounds super fun to me. Like maybe I'm crazy, but.
No, I don't think that's crazy.
Like, can you imagine Mac coaching a team that has a 6'10" version of Ethan Rogge?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Because would you imagine? Has to be a pretty free flowing offense. Would you? I don't think he would be considered like an athletic wing.
No. Who, Frankie or?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I don't
think you can move him to 3. Like I don't think you can move Frankie to the 3, which is why you have to log jam at the 4. Like between Jackson McAndrew and Mason Miller and Jason Green, I don't know. Now maybe you can move. Maybe Jason's athletic enough to move down to a wing.
Although he would be a nice offensive tool for Coach Mac at the 4.
Frankie.
Yeah. He'd be that would be.
But where's the minutes? That's the problem.
Yeah.
You either have to turn Mason and Jason into 3s, which maybe Mason's pretty bouncy. He moves okay. Jason is a pretty good athlete. Like, I don't know if you can get them to become your 3s so that you can have room for McAndrew and Fiddler at your 4.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe works, but I think there's a minutes log jam there that they'd have to address. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Laura Kuhn from the Omaha Supernovas. She's their head coach. They play Thursday here in Omaha. We will get to that and more here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
The 13th Ziegler. No! Dalton connects with the follow jam. Wow.
I think we can do that. Win this tournament.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are live on the Pillar Exterior stage, and we are brought to you by the Omaha Supernovas. The Supernovas are back in action here in Omaha on Thursday. You can get tickets at supernovas.com, where you will see our next guest, Coach Kuhn, leading the Supernovas. Coach, how are you this morning?
Hi there. Good morning. I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Coach, what's up? How are things?
Good, good. How about the snow on the ground right now? I'm like, what?
Not a huge fan.
Happening?
Not a huge fan. I'm going to be honest with you. Not my favorite.
Ravi acts like he's not from here. You at least have an excuse. He's such a baby.
I'm a huge baby. I've been here my whole life, and I still hate the weather.
Coach, I'm a big
but I'm like,
go ahead.
It was like warm last week, and I always wake up getting the snow. I'm like, okay.
You know what's making me mad, to be honest, Coach, is it's killing my sinuses. Like, I can't. It feels like there's a brick on my face.
Yeah, I'm gonna get him some Kleenex. Coach, the real thing is I like balance, right? I don't want to get into late spring and early summer and have a dry yard, or all the bugs are screwed up, or the flowers bloom at the. I know. I
told him it could still rain when it's warm out, but he wasn't listening to me.
Full disclosure, I'm a total weirdo. I apologize. She's like, what? What a goofball. Yeah, I
love
am.
it.
Co-
We need consistency.
yeah,
That's what
right.
we need.
I just like consistency. That's all.
Coach, you guys got a little balance in your schedule after kind of going through a tear of a bunch of games in not very many days. You had about a little week and a half break here. How are you feeling? How's the team feeling?
Yeah, I think it was good for us. We got to just train and get into a routine. We actually gave them the weekend off, so we gave them some time off, which I think is always good, especially in a season like this where now we're getting into this week where we're going to have 4 matches in like 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be, we're getting like cannonball right back into it, but it's fun because we'll be at home. Obviously, 2 matches at home, then we go to San Diego, and then we're back home again. So that's kind of good.
Coach, more difficult with an older, experienced professional bunch to manage downtime since you're getting ready to hit the stretch run? You have to just turn over the trust fact that they know their bodies, or are you kind of using a style to get them ramped back up into play?
There's a lot of trust with them. I mean, they know what they need.
Yeah.
But then as a team, that's a different thing. Like as a team, we need to train, we need to get into a routine and stay focused. But for individuals, I mean, that is like you have to know your body. We're here, we have a lot of resources and things, keep them healthy and recovered. But at the end of the day, the time away is actually really good for them, physically and mentally, because it is a grind once we get back into it. So I know they appreciated it. We were back yesterday and we had a great practice. And so it's good. It's a fun week. We're back home. So it's good energy.
Coach, how much different is it in terms of managing the bodies and the wear and tear and all of that between college where, I mean, listen, 18 to 22-year-olds can pretty much deal with anything, right? They'll figure it out in terms of physically. Whereas, not that it's an old team by any means, but as we get a little bit older, you kind of want to give a little more rest and a little more leeway on how people manage their various injuries and things like that. How much different do you find yourself in terms of pushing versus maybe giving a little leeway?
I think just like any other team, everyone is. I mean, the thing is, like everyone's injuries or where they're at in their own career, it's going to be different, even when they're young, 18 to 22. But this is, I mean, there is way more leniency, I would say, and knowing their bodies, but then still having structure. So managing the load, I mean, the biggest thing is the matches. I mean, our matches are like clumped together, and then sometimes there's 1 day, sometimes there's 2 to 3 days in between.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really more of the load management for the group as a whole, and then obviously individuals.
Coach, what is it about, do you think, the friendly confines that haven't been as friendly? You have the 500 record at home, 5-1 on the road. What's the mentality as you get ready to come back and try to defend home turf if you're going to make a run here down the stretch?
Yeah, I think we kind of acknowledged that, and we've talked there is a different. I've talked about it early on. Like the team, when you're on the road, you bond. You're just together. There's more of I don't know if it's even structure. You're just forced into like being together, and there's like that. And then at home, there is a little bit of independence, but we're kind of getting into more of a routine and structuring things the way they are on the road. And so we've kind of adapted and adjusted to that in the last couple of weeks. Just to make it more consistent. I mean, we just talked about that when we started. Everyone needs consistency, so making that more consistent so it feels the same whether we're home or on the road. Because there's more distractions, there's more things happening when you're home, and we just need to lock that up a little bit better and maybe just be more consistent with how we're doing our routine.
With repeat in opponents, I'm curious, especially with professionals, is this boiling down to you more about the tweaks because there's familiarity, or is it just the simple execution of what it is that you want to do real time?
I think it's both. And all the teams, we've been playing more. I mean, we kind of jumped into a season where none of these players had really played together that much as a whole, as a team. And so you see across the board, the level of play is getting better and better.
Yeah.
And every match, it does. It's tough to play the same opponent multiple times, let alone beat them. But there's also a lot of talent and then just the chemistry that's building in each team and each organization. So as we go through the second half, it's going to be way different, and I would say way better, the matches and the caliber of play. than the first half because, again, we're all, we've been playing now for almost 2 months, and you get to know each other, and so you have to figure out new things and ways to score, ways to defend. So, yeah, it's exciting, but it's going to be challenging in the second half.
We're talking with Coach Laura Kuhn of the Omaha Supernovas. Coach, so, we were pushing for that 12,000 number last time. We got it. We got another record. What should the next goal be? I'm trying to.
We're going to speak this into existence.
Yeah, I'm trying to manifest some new records around here for attendance at your matches. Because I'm thinking I want to go big. I'm thinking like 14,000.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we're thinking like if we could go baby steps or we could just cannonball, like what is the full capacity of CHI? 17?
18 and change, I think.
18.
So we want to sell out before the end of the year. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely need to sell out, but 16 came to my mind. I mean, I know that's 4,000 more, but I mean.
No, I like it. Let's go big.
You got to go big or go home, right?
All right. So that's the next goal. We're going to push for 16. And then before the end of the year, let's get a sellout. Let's see what we can do.
That's going to happen because it's going to be one of these matches for first place. I don't know if it's going to be the Vibe again or whoever, but it's going to be huge. And this thing will be for all the marbles, and we're going to get you close to 17, 18K, Coach.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen, guys.
Coach, we appreciate the time as always. I'll do my part. You guys do your part. Keep on winning, and we will see what we can do about getting a sellout at CHI.
That's a deal. We're in.
All right, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
We
appreciate
your time.
Have a good one.
That's Coach Laura Kuhn of the Omaha Supernovas. Listen, guys, there's some matches left. Yeah. Let's see what we can do.
It's snow, man.
Supernovas.com. Get your tickets.
She laughed at me.
Well, I mean,
she said, "What?"
Well, and it's worse for her because she spent a lot of time in the South.
Yeah.
She went to Georgia Tech. Obviously, she was coaching at A&M. I don't have an excuse. Although, it is a little bit of my DNA to not really be part of this.
So we got to go.
And she wanted to drop the cannonball too.
I know. I like it.
She was all in.
Cannonball. We got to go they've got to go 2-0 here.
Yeah. Thursday, Saturday, 28th, 30th. We have tickets to give away this week, Shano.
Are you guys going to fight about the number again? That's always cute. 4 or 6. Shane, I think Ravi should just leave it up to you.
Shane, you do whatever you want. You just tell me when to give them away, okay?
I don't have tickets to give away.
Wait, we got to have some tickets to give away.
Let's talk to our friends. Email our friends. See what we can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he acts like you just asked. I asked him to give you his.
Yeah, you like you just asked me to go get the jewels off the Taj Mahal.
I feel like you're not allowed to say that. You're white.
No, he did. No, he did.
I don't understand. I don't get it. I never learned that in history class.
Shane, ignorance is not an excuse.
Listen, when the colonizers write the textbooks, you're not gonna learn some things. All right.
He said you can't say that.
Not even a little bit. Listen, there's stuff I can't say to DB. There's stuff DB can't say to me, although he does anyway most of the time.
Oh, shoot.
Asking me about yogurt.
Dude,
who talks about yogurt? The Greeks, apparently.
Yeah, see? That's what I'm talking about. This is an oikos thing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen, I'm just saying.
Who's going to crush my grapes? Who's going to make my wine?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, comedy skit.
This thing's got a little
Eddie Griffin.
Eddie Redmayne?
Yeah, him too. Eddie and the Cruisers? Shane can say that. That's pretty.
Yeah, that's fine. That's right up your alley. Shane, you can like.
Why is that right up my alley?
Shane, you can talk about like the Lumineers.
I don't even like the 50s.
That's your culture.
Shoot.
You can talk about the Big Bopper.
No.
This is Hurrdat Sports Radio, probably.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio as we wrap up hour number 2 here on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. What's up?
Just the amazing Daniel's at it again.
That's DB. I'm Ravi. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as live from the Pillar Exterior stage here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Yeah, so the amazing Daniel with maybe the line of the day after Shane was super offensive.
Oh, come on, Shane.
And talking about stealing gems off the Taj Mahal. Amazing Daniel goes, man, that's like catching Shane and telling him he's got to give you his pot of gold.
You can't say that.
I didn't know you were Irish. I didn't say it. Amazing Daniel said it.
Oh, man.
I didn't know you were Irish. Oh, okay. Well, I
don't
get it then.
Definitely somebody. I know. Was it TK? Who did you read? Oh, it was Alex Sinlar. Who did you read without editing?
Yeah, that was Alex.
Don't ever do that.
Which
with
is
Daniel.
Super dangerous because Alex loves the F word.
Yeah. Well,
says it all the time.
Maybe.
Make it always proof.
Hello, friend.
Daniel's work
Yeah,
before you just read.
You don't want to go on. I'm Ron Burgundy? Question mark here.
Yeah.
Go bleep yourself, San Diego.
Are you being serious, by the way?
About what?
About the jewels.
Yes. They stole the jewels out of the Taj Mahal. It is a real thing.
Like from the inside, or were they on the Taj Mahal?
Both. There were jewels everywhere. If you look up pictures of the Taj Mahal, it's going to look like there's these intricate carvings in the marble because it's made out of marble.
I didn't know.
No, I'm telling you. I'm trying to educate here. It's made out of marble. There's these intricate carvings. I don't know if Ravi from Lincoln's listening, but he would be able to back me up on this. There's 2 Ravis in the whole state.
Can't you get them back? Say, listen.
I distinguish. He's linking.
Give them back.
Listen, I've been trying. What do you think I'm doing here?
Well,
No. So if you look up a picture of the Taj Mahal, if you go up a close up, you can see that there's these like carvings and etchings into the marble. DB, I'm gonna let you compose yourself. And they're not just designs. There's holes in them where jewels used to be, and when they left India in the 40s, they took it all with them.
What a bunch of jerks!
I agree. The big go look at the crown, the crown of the
that the Queen would have wore.
Yeah, the biggest jewel there is from India. It's ours. When they elected an Indian dude prime minister, I was like, "Hey, bud, get our stuff back."
You can't say that.
Yes, I can. The British Museum is like one of those storage facilities for the rest of the world.
Oh.
I just want our stuff back. Take it out of your hats. This is Hurrdat Sports Radio. Also, apparently, history class for Shane here. No, that's all true, Shane. That's all real.
Hey, bud, get it back.
Trying. I would like.
Is that what you said?
I'm just saying, you can't elect a guy named Rishi as your prime minister and do a little something for the culture, bud. It's a little bit here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's not a big ask.
How'd that work for Obama?
You seem very hurt right now.
Man. Didn't work that great for my guy Barack.
Oh.
It's all right though.
Okay.
We good?
Yep.
All right.
Need a little more salt water.
Anything? I think that's why you're coughing. It's the salt water.
Nope. The electrolytes didn't kick in.
It is opaque. You got so much salt in there.
Whew. All right.
There's a cloud of salt.
Mm-hmm. This good water.
You good?
Excuse me.
You gonna make it?
I'm gonna make it.
You
two done?
I'm fine. I was just educating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't even get it about how they kind of just pieced out and let several million people just try and refugee from Pakistan to India. That whole thing. It's not a big deal. It's fine. It's not like almost 1 million people lost their lives or anything. It's all good. When you split a country into two pieces, you might want to have a transition plan. Their transition plan was take the money and run. That was their transition plan.
Poor Shane is mortified.
That's okay.
Shane, you just want to know if you're going to trade up to get a quarterback, don't you?
That's all I wanted to know.
We'll ask Gary here in a couple minutes.
Yeah, we'll ask Gary Dolphin from Bleacher Report, talk a little NFL. Probably less about India-Britain relations, I would imagine.
Whether Russell Wilson is
I think he's too
is good in the pole position.
Whether I think he's stressing out your guy already.
Mike Tomlin?
Yeah.
Why? Because he cut his hair too? Maybe they went to the barber together.
Oh, what a bonding experience that would have been.
It would be.
I'm serious.
You got to be continually.
I know I sound sarcastic all the time, but sometimes I mean it.
Yeah, it'd be a good experience. Yeah, you want to go to the barber?
Would you take Russell Wilson to your barbershop?
You're innocent until proven
Probably
guilty.
not.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Probably not. But
I met your guy. I don't know that they would vibe.
I would take I'd take lots of people there though. I'd take Vers.
Yeah, but you wouldn't take. There's a difference.
Yeah, I wouldn't take. Russell.
Wouldn't take Russ.
No.
Vers is more the type of hang that I think your barbershop is looking for than Russ.
I would, and they have a lot of different clients too.
I feel like Russ would get eviscerated there.
But I would not probably take Russ.
Yeah, I feel like he would get eaten alive.
Yeah.
Russ is a tough hang. Russ,
that's what you tell me.
I mean, that's what it's. I don't know him personally. I know it seems like I might.
What, does he have child tendencies or what?
Yeah, he kind of looks like a toddler running around back there. Not quite like Kyler Murray does.
Wow.
Kyler Murray looks like a toddler that stole his parents' cell phone when he's scrambling. He's just running around. He looks like Zobear in her little unicorn onesie.
I think she wore that today's pajama day.
Just running around and being like, "I got your phone." That's what Kyler Murray looks like.
I'm looking for a bounce back here.
For Kyler or Russell?
Kyler. He couldn't. He wasn't obviously Flacco, so he couldn't get comeback player of the year. I'm like, coming back from what?
Back from what? Being bad at football?
But
we're not going to give it to the guy that died on a football field.
He is going to have a bounce back year though.
Yeah. Or did DeMar win it after after the next year?
No, he beat DeMar. out. That was just 2 years ago.
Yeah, like so.
Flacco beat DeMar Hamlin and
So a guy actually
Kyler Murray.
died on a football field. We brought him back to life, got him to play football again, and Joe Flacco gets it because he is slightly better at football than we remember.
Yeah, what did he throw? 8-4, 13-6.
Like that's literally he's just a little bit better at football than we thought he was going to be.
4-3 record with a team that was already playoff bound.
That's what we're doing here.
What can you say?
I watched a man die on a football field. He should get at least something.
But so if he, wow. So if he does come back, does that bolster the West? Because that's not a really talked about division.
If who comes back?
Kyler Murray to form.
Do you like the rest of the roster?
The Rams are going to be really good.
The Rams are good. I think Seattle's going to be in a little transition here. I'm not sure
because the quarterback play.
Quarterback play,
like
coach.
Gino?
I think he's fine. But quarterback play, coach.
I think he was a good hire, even though he replaced my man Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't. It's new, I don't know. Like there's still a transition there, right? Like could be good, could be better than I'm expecting.
Yeah.
But there's just too many unknowns there for me to say, yeah, they're gonna be good.
It's the
especially when there's enough returning in San Francisco and Los Angeles that they're ahead of them.
Is the NFC South going to be the worst division in football
again?
Well, the AFC South is like
AFC or NFC.
They both are.
They're both very, very bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, but the AFC South could potentially raise their hand
and be like, "Hey, hold my beer.
Yeah,
I could be the worst division." I don't know. Does Kirk Cousins make Atlanta good?
They're awful dangerous. Is Atlanta going to get any stops?
Well, that's a fair question.
If they get some stops,
they might be all right.
They're explosive on offense.
Yeah, I like a lot of their pieces on offense. I don't know if they'll stop anybody, but you're also playing a crap division, so maybe you don't have to get that many stops. Or maybe they'll kind of stop themselves because they're bad at football. Like if half your games are against bad teams. We talked about this with Iowa State and Illinois. Not that Iowa State's a bad team.
Wasn't he? So he's automatically the best quarterback in that division, right?
Yes. Yeah. I don't think that's a question.
Well,
is it? I mean, is that a hot take?
Well, I don't know. Some like Baker.
No. I mean, Kirk is better than Baker.
Okay. I just want to.
I'm not a Baker hater either.
Well, so there's a lot of Kirk haters.
Yeah, which is, listen, he's not special in the sense of the guys we talk about in that class, but he's a very good NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
But if you're giving me, who did the Saints end up with? Who's their quarterback now? Is it still Derek?
Yeah.
I don't feel good about that.
I don't. So the Saints, there's a bunch of these teams that are going to be interesting.
I'll take of the quarterbacks right now: Baker, Carr, Cousins, Bryce Young. I'm taking Cousins all day long, and it's not close. I'm not even really entertaining.
It's just weird to have people put respect on Kirk Cousins' name.
Well, I always have. I don't know. Like he has to be in a really good position if you're going to win very much. But he'll make your offense good. I just don't think he's special. There's a difference.
The Saints can't trot Derek Carr back out there, can they?
Who else are they going to put out there? They don't have anybody else, do they?
It's not Taysom.
Not Taysom. Jameis signed somewhere else.
Yeah. Boy, I listened to him on a podcast the other day.
He's a lot.
Wow.
What?
I was floored.
By what? You trying to find a way to say it without getting fired?
Yep. Yep. I mean, I'll say just about anything.
He has a unique dialect that is sometimes difficult to understand.
He did not come across as super sharp.
That has been the case for a while.
It was unbelievable, though, because even in just a normal conversation,
yeah,
you should probably be a little better. But yeah, that was a lot. It's very interesting, though.
He's been talking in front of people for a long time, but not be any better.
Well, I don't pay him any attention because I don't really.
Right.
I don't.
No, but I paid attention to him when he was at Florida State, and then you hear tidbits now, and you're like, that hasn't gotten any better.
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm gonna send you the link.
Yeah, send it to me.
You're gonna take a.
Coming up next, we got Gary Davenport from Bleacher Report. We'll continue to talk a little NFL here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. Hurrdat Sports Radio.
He was positive. His tone was good. I think what was important for Bruce and I to really express to him that it was a class act and how he handled the ups and downs of
Radio.
He was positive. His tone was good.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
He was positive. His tone was good. I think what was important for Bruce and I to really express to him, although this is a really tough decision, like how much he means to the city of Chicago, our fan base, and us. I thought it was a class act and how he handled the ups and downs of the start of his career.
We're kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on KFOR in Lincoln as well. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. We're here at the Pillar Exterior stage, and we are joined now by Gary Davenport. He's an NFL analyst for Bleacher Report. Gary, how are you this morning?
Oh, doing well, gentlemen. How are you?
Good.
Gary, I want to get right into something I saw over the weekend about the New England Patriots saying that they're not dead set on taking a quarterback at 3 and that they'd explore offers for that pick. In your mind, Is that bluster? Is that kind of bluffing? Are they trying to get some kind of leverage here? What do you think that is, or do you think they're really open to trading that pick?
I think anything's possible, given how many needs the Patriots have on both sides of the ball. I would suppose if someone came along with that proverbial Godfather offer that you can't refuse, that they might move off of number 3. But that's the thing. It would take, I mean, I can't even to move up from, say, 7 or 8 to 3 would take, we're talking multiple first plus. So I just, it's going to be very interesting to see, what kind of offers potentially they might get. We saw the Arizona Cardinals say the same thing too, hey, we might be open for business at 4. The problem there, of course, is that the big 3 quarterbacks will already be off the board, most likely. So that pick doesn't necessarily have quite that attractiveness of number 3. But I'd rather doubt that we'll see New England move off. We hear this kind of thing every year out of at least one team at the top of the draft. Hey, we're open for business. But an offer good enough to move down just doesn't come along.
And maybe this answer is relative to the division, but who would you rather be at the quarterback spot? Would you rather be the Saints or the Raiders?
Oh.
Can we answer none of the above?
It's interesting how they're uniquely connected because of Carr, though. But I look and I can't see the Saints making a move for a quarterback, but I could see the Raiders maybe making a play.
Yes, the Raiders are one of the teams that I could see making a move up to select J.J. McCarthy. Or, I mean, maybe even moving all the way up into the top 3 and just going for broke. I mean, right now, as things stand today, I guess I would rather it be the Saints. But it could be a vastly different answer at the end of April. Just because, I mean, Derek Carr's not a great quarterback, but he's at least a capable NFL quarterback. Right now, the Raiders have Aiden O'Connell. And, O'Connell had a couple moments last year, but he's not the guy. He's not a long-term answer.
Gary, I'm wondering, you mentioned J.J. McCarthy. There's been a lot of buzz for Bo Nix lately as well, coming off of pro days and the combine. Is there a chance that the infatuation with J.J. McCarthy does make that number 4 pick, or maybe, 4 to 6, somewhere in there, a way more valuable pick than we would have thought of even a month ago?
Oh, absolutely. You're hearing some scuttlebutt that there are people that have, McCarthy ranked higher than 4th among the quarterbacks on their boards. So I do think we're going to see a move from someone moving up. I don't know if it'll be all the way up to 4. Maybe Arizona will just do the sensible thing and take the guy that's right there waiting for you in Marvin Harrison Jr. and get Kyler Murray a wide receiver 1. But someone, there are just too many quarterback desperate teams, whether it's, we already mentioned the Raiders, the New York Giants apparently are ready to wash their hands of Daniel Jones. It's the first chance they can get, which won't be this season, but could be next season. You've got the Minnesota Vikings losing Kirk Cousins. One of those teams is going to get desperate because there are 2 types of teams in the NFL. There are teams that have quarterbacks and teams that do not. And the teams that do not are desperate to join that other club.
So it's interesting, Gary. If does the 27th and 28th change anything, which happen to coincide with Daniels and May's workouts, or are we just resigned to ourselves that, okay, it's going 1, 2, 3?
I don't know that we're going to see anything at a pro day that would vastly change how I have those guys ranked or how an NFL. I mean, the NFL teams have been scouting these guys for months. I can't imagine that we're going to see those guys come out at a pro day thrown against air and something's going to happen that's going to, just completely change how I evaluated this player. So I think first 3 picks, we know Caleb Williams is going first to Chicago, barring just craziness. Whether it's May then Daniels or Daniels then May after that, I don't know, but it certainly appears that the first 3 picks are going to be quarterback.
So it's interesting, Gary, because I think seeing Daniels in person, right, and it's well documented, he's a slight guy and he's going to grow some. There's no question about that. But he seems like the guy for me whose stature is most uniquely connected to the way that he plays. Is it portable in the NFL?
That's a good question, but we're seeing more and more guys bring, kind of unconventional skill sets to the NFL and have some success. So certainly I think he can succeed in the NFL. I would say he probably has a higher ceiling than Drake May does. I just think there's a lower floor there too.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you go Daniels over May, you're going a little risk reward. You're saying if I can get the most this kid has out of him, he's going to be a better pro than Drake May.
Gary, I'm wondering about another quarterback that we look at as high risk and maybe not as high reward as Daniels, but that's Michael Penix, who's been talked a lot about in the early second round. I'd be shocked, frankly, if somebody doesn't decide to take him in the late first round, whether it's a team moving back into the draft because they missed out on one of those top 4 or 5 guys we've been talking about. But how do you view a guy that has different concerns than like a Jaden Daniels, right? Obviously, Penix has the injury concerns, but when he's been healthy, everyone seems enamored with him. Are you convinced that he's going to go maybe a little earlier than the mock drafts currently have him?
I don't think he'll make it out of round 1. I think a team.
I don't either, man. I don't get it.
There's going to be a team toward the back of that first round that says, okay, the medicals are a concern, but if you trade back into that back end of the first round, you get that 5th-year option. And there's going to be a quarterback needy team. Like I said, the ones that don't have them are absolutely desperate to join the club of those who do. There's going to be a team that's going to talk themselves into, okay, maybe the medicals aren't that big a deal, and we'll trade up from, early in day 2, which isn't going to cost a fortune.
It's going to cost less than moving up to 3 or 4, right?
Right. Get that 28th, 29th overall pick and grab Penix as day 1 winds down. And I mean, we saw a team move up to the 32nd pick 5-6 years ago and take a quarterback, and that seems to have worked out okay for the Baltimore Ravens.
I'm so glad to hear somebody who's a great follow, by the way, at IDP Sharks, the national level, give Penix his due, because I kind of feel like after the playoffs, there was a ton of buzz. Then it was kind of an afterthought, and it was like, yeah, the medicals. But, gosh, you just watch him play. He's mature. He's strong. And I get it. Maybe people don't like the footwork around with a messy pocket. But he's so willing to learn, and he ran a big boy offense. Like, it seems – and I know the reports are – we talked to a couple Denver guys last week. Sean Payton is kind of captivated by Penix. It just seems like he's better than – kind of he's at least up to this point, the excitement level is.
Yeah, I think he's got a better NFL ceiling than Bo Nix does. I'll say that.
Wait,
it's weird because the top 3 guys, no one really talks about the top 3 guys anymore because it's just assumed they're going to go 1, 2, 3. So why even bother?
Yeah.
And then J.J. McCarthy has become the hype darling of the 2024 NFL draft at the quarterback position, and everyone, will he go 4th overall, 6th overall? How many quarterbacks are going in the top 10? But once you get past McCarthy, there's just not that many people talking about Bo Nix and Michael Penix.
Interesting.
And granted, those guys have their concerns, but we're talking about guys that accomplished an awful lot at college and won. And like you said, Penix played in a pro-style offense. I would not be at all surprised if 3-4 years from now, we look back and we're looking at the team that drafted, say, Jaden Daniels and the team that drafted Penix, and we're looking at Penix like, wow, the Penix team like, wow, those guys were really smart, while the Jaden Daniels team is still trying to develop him.
If you're in Minnesota, what do you do with Jefferson?
Oh, whatever you have to make him happy.
Can you pay a wide receiver one that 30 million? Let's say that's the price tag.
You don't have a
without somebody I guess Darnold could get him enough attempts to justify it, but you're not going to get a return on your investment for maybe 2 years.
You're not going to get, what kind of return on investment are you going to get if you try to trade him?
I know you're not. You don't want to be you're not going to be the coach that let Justin Jefferson go, are you?
Right. I mean, it's just, and the only team more intently watching what's happening with Justin Jefferson than the Minnesota Vikings is the Cincinnati Bengals. Because if the Vikings do re-up Jefferson, the minute that pen hits that paper, Jamar Chase is going to walk into the general manager's office in Cincinnati and be like, I want that plus $1.
I'll say plus. Yeah.
And I'm that's a team I'm actually concerned about for this year. It isn't just Burrow coming back from injury, but I mean, no Boyd. I guess we'll see what happens with T. Higgins and whether the bluff is called or not. But man, no Mixon. That could be a vastly different team offensively this year.
Yeah, I mean, they, like you said, they lost Boyd, who's an underrated veteran receiver. I don't know, at least personally, whether Zach Moss can repeat the kind of success that he had last year in Indianapolis over a complete season. And I also don't think that he's, the threat to catch the ball out of the backfield that Joe Mixon was. And the biggest problem in Cincinnati is still there. That offensive line just is not very good.
Yeah.
And they haven't done a lot to address that. So, and I mean, you look at that division, it's just a gauntlet. Cleveland won 11 games last year with Joe Flacco's corpse at quarterback. Pittsburgh just went out and got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, because I guess you can never have too many quarterbacks. And the Ravens were the number 1 seed in the AFC last year. So it's going to be tough sledding for the 4 teams in the AFC North. And like you said, the Bengals have some pretty serious questions. It shows you how quickly things can change for NFL teams in the 21st century. That 2-3 years ago, the Bengals are in the Super Bowl, and now we're like, are they going to make the playoffs?
Mm-hmm. We're talking with Gary Davenport of Bleacher Report. Gary, I want to switch to free agency here with you for a second. Are there any free agent names on the market still that you think move the needle at all?
There are a couple that I think could help a team out. We mentioned Tyler Boyd's a guy who has a couple 1,000-yard seasons on his resume. And I don't know that he's not a number 1 wide receiver anymore, but he can help an offense out.
I hope he goes to Pittsburgh.
I think Stephon Gilmore could help out a secondary. A team that's looking, especially if a team's looking for kind of a short-term fix in the secondary, like, say, Kansas City.
Yeah.
We've seen this movie with the Chiefs. They did the same thing with Shohei Ohtani. They let him go because they didn't want to pay him big bucks. Drafted Trent McDuffie, developed McDuffie, and now they're doing the same thing with Snead. Gilmore could give them, like a 1-year guy.
Did you understand the compensation for Snead?
Oh, no, I don't believe the trade compensation wasn't much. I think it was a day 3 pick, 2 day 3 picks.
Did that make sense to you?
Hey, we've had 2 or 3 trades this year that have been, their compensation was a bag of Fritos and a 6-pack of Mountain Dew. So,
you mean like the Steelers getting Justin Fields for a 6th?
A lot of these trades anymore, I mean, just have a look up. You look at what the teams are getting back in so far as compensation, and it becomes clear that it's essentially just a salary dump. They just want that contract off the books.
How soon, or maybe it's happening already and I just don't hear about it, but does Matt LaFleur belong in the upper echelon of NFL coaches in terms of how he's perceived?
If the Packers can come close to repeating last year's success, make the playoffs, win a playoff game, I think you got to put him up there.
The guy's won a ton of games to be an afterthought.
Right. And I mean, no one expected much out of the Packers last year.
No.
And to see Jordan Love's development and to see how that team came on down the stretch last year, they were fairly aggressive this year in free agency. Although I still don't love the Aaron Jones for Josh Jacobs swap. I understand that Jacobs is younger, but in a vacuum, I think I'd rather have Aaron Jones, especially given the way he played down the stretch last year.
And the money. I'm kind of with you.
Right.
My first blush a couple weeks ago, I was like, I didn't understand that the next morning. And Gary, this is weird, especially in Omaha, Nebraska, but this is probably, especially as a non-Raiders fan, I'm a big Josh Jacobs guy. I really didn't understand the move.
Hey, it was a good year to be a running back in free agency. I mean,
Finally.
after 2 or 3 years of running backs can't get, $10 an hour this year, there were actually some contracts written that were decent size for running backs. And, I will admit I didn't love the Jacobs move. The Saquon Barkley move, that's a very un-Howie Roseman thing to do.
Doesn't seem like the Eagles does it.
To throw big money at a running back. That's just not the kind of position that Roseman has historically spent a lot at. But I think it kind of shows a little bit of the pressure there to, they got to wash off the stink of that collapse down the stretch last year. So, I mean, you're talking about a team 11 games into the season, 10-1. And then I think, they look like the best team in the NFC. They're going to get back to the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. And then they win one more game the rest of the season. So, I mean, there's always a ridiculous amount of pressure in Dallas every year, just because of the expectations every year is win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't made the NFC Championship game in 30-some years.
Gary,
but it's just as bad in Philadelphia this year after what happened at the end of last season.
I was just going to say, and apparently nobody likes repeating as division champs in the NFC East. Who would you rather be, Dallas or Philly?
Oh, I'm going to have to go Philly, just because I think I trust their defense a little bit more. I mean, I like some of the additions that Dallas made. They quietly addressed the linebacker position, which was a problem for them on defense. And that team's got talent, but for whatever reason, they just cannot seem to, they'll get to the playoffs, but once they get there, it's see you later. And if that happens again this year, it's going to be see you later, Mike McCarthy. Frankly, I'm a little surprised he still has a job.
Can they handle maybe not even being the best team in Texas?
Ooh. I don't know.
I mean,
I kind of like Houston's offseason.
I love you talk about quiet additions at the linebacker spot. D'Amico Ryans knows what the heck he's doing. He rebuilt that core quietly, and I mean, just offensively with Mixon, like they appear to be pretty poised to take over that mantle in that state.
Yeah, Houston went at the defense in free agency. Adding Daniel Hunter opposite Will Anderson. Went hard at the linebacker position, like you said, on offense. They got Joe Mixon that was another one of those trades where it was a bag of Funyuns and a 6-pack Mountain Dew. And you're right. The Texans might be a better team than the Dallas Cowboys. And if that proves to be the case as the season wears on, shows like this in Dallas are going to get really interesting.
Yeah,
the callers are going to be whoever's on the dump button had better be on it.
Gary, let me ask you this. So let's take Houston, Dallas, and Philly, just for the sake of this conversation. Out of those three, are you taking as the head coach? Because we all say it's a head coach and quarterback league, right? Are you taking Sirianni, McCarthy, or D'Amico Ryans?
I think if I'm taking head coach quarterback combo, I'd probably take D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud, because Stroud was fantastic as a rookie, and I think he's just
going to get better.
The surface of what he can do.
You know what's funny listening to you two? People question why the Texans, outside of the history of D'Amico Ryans, with the jobs that were going to be available that year, they felt like, oh no, D'Amico, don't go. Bad ownership.
That's how I felt. I'm a 49ers fan.
It's not a good, well-run franchise, and he may be the last one. He may be the last one standing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gary, as we got just a few more minutes left here with you, are you anticipating, or are there any situations you're looking at and say, hey, we might see a player moved in the draft kind of trade process rather than just picks? Because there's some rumblings out there that maybe Kyler Murray gets put on the move for Arizona.
Oh, that would be a big move.
$200 million worth of a move.
Well, and because you look at, we mentioned what the cost is going to be to move up into the third or fourth spot in the draft.
Oh,
would
as a
you
commodity.
rather just?
Yeah.
Would you? I mean, it probably costs less in draft capital to go get Kyler Murray, right?
Yeah, but you're also taking on that.
Yeah, you're taking on the money.
Of a contract. Yeah, I do believe whether it's Kyler Murray or a guy like T. Higgins or who, there are going to be a player or two moved probably as the draft progresses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we're going to see a blockbuster of that nature before the draft. But once those picks start firing, once those cards start getting turned in, general managers start getting a little antsy, and then they see that player that they covet, which probably that quarterback that they covet, because if you're going to make a crazy trade, it better involve a quarterback. They see him drop a couple spots, and they just want to pounce. So it's going to be a wildly interesting draft. We're seeing so many more trades in the NFL now than we used to. I mean, it used to be, trades were something that happened in baseball and basketball. They didn't happen in the NFL, and now we're seeing a lot more player movement via that route than we used to, and it just makes things that much more interesting. It's wild how much an NFL team can remake itself just in one off season. And it's also wild how teams like Kansas City manage to keep surviving these off seasons, and you look at them and, they're at least as good as the team that just won the Super Bowl. And with the addition of Marquise Brown, probably a little bit better.
That's Gary Davenport. He is an NFL analyst for Bleacher Report. Gary, we appreciate your time. Hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
Oh, anytime, guys.
Thanks, Gary. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Kyler Murray going to the Vikings.
Yeah.
That's Tannenbaum that said that.
Because I saw it on ESPN. I couldn't remember who it was.
Tannenbaum suggested Murray.
So I'm just
to Minnesota for
like 11
McCarthy. It was something like that.
Yeah. So I'm just saying
that was Tannenbaum that floated that.
So if you're let's say Minnesota, let's say you're
Kyler Murray traded the Vikings, McCarthy to Cardinals, and Tannenbaum's mock draft.
Let's say you're the Saints at 14. Let's say you're Las Vegas at 13. Let's say you're Denver at 12.
I don't think the Saints could afford it.
Fair. Let's say you're Arizona at 11. Are you really? You're not going to get one of those.
I know one thing.
Yeah.
You put Kyler Murray in Minnesota.
That team's pretty good.
They're really good. They're really good.
Because listen.
Flores has done one
for whatever
they are really good.
For whatever Kyler Murray's faults are, I'm taking him over Bo Nix.
I know one thing.
I'm definitely taking him over Bo Nix.
It makes Jefferson's contract a lot more
palatable.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back.
with the follow.
I'm here to win this tournament.
We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We are live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and live from the Pillar Exterior stage here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Want to remind you, you've got a couple more days to get entries in for the $100,000 prop car challenge at Warhorse Casino through the 28th. You can get an entry with a $50 sportsbook wager or 50 points earned on slots or racing. Also need to make sure you're a Warhorse Rewards member to be eligible for the $100,000 prop card challenge. You'll make prop guesses. You'll answer questions for 25 prop questions for the semifinal and final of the tournament. If you get 18 or more of those correct, you are eligible to win cash and prizes. Make sure you go to warhorsecasino.com for a full list of rules and details. That's Warhorse Sportsbook. No bets, no glory.
Just don't find any Jonte Porter props.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So I guarantee we're probably the only two people that do this as a thing. But
so Jonte Porter, he plays for the Raptors. He's the big brother of Michael Porter Jr. of the Nuggets. Little in terms of talent, big in terms of age compared to Michael Porter. But he is
being investigated right now, currently by the NBA.
Yeah, he's the subject of an investigation in the NBA due to some unusual prop betting activity around him. And I'm going to be honest, if you're not a superstar and anybody's trying to put any amount of money on your prop lines, it's going to raise some red flags there, bud.
Yeah. I mean, unbelievably, it's like the college baseball thing.
Yes. You can't just go and place six figures on a regular season college baseball game and not have somebody be like, excuse me, this is odd.
Nor can you bet on a role player, which may be generous.
Yeah.
Generous. Did I say generous?
Yeah, I think you were saying disingenuine and then generous.
Yeah.
So you kind of mixed them.
Yeah, that word.
Yeah, calling him a role player is generous because he is barely that.
But the thing about it is, and so the prop totals were low. They were
5.5 points,
5.5 points, 4.5 rebounds,
yeah.
and over-unders on threes was a half.
Mm-hmm.
And he, for whatever the reason, had an eye issue. and had to leave the game.
Yeah, it's strange.
That
didn't attempt any
day. Now
threes.
this is the crazy thing.
Didn't
That
attempt-
day
Yeah.
or that night,
To
Vegas
this day.
Vegas said that was the biggest prop casualty hit.
Mm-hmm.
Jonte Porter.
Yep.
To this
day. Yes, Deontay was the biggest prop casualty
weird.
hit.
It's weird.
One night that, all right, let's call it
Outlier, whatever.
But just a couple of days later,
Oh, weird. Jonte Porter again.
over under 7.5 points, 5.5 rebounds. The next day, DraftKings Sportsbook reported to the media that Porter's prop bets were the number one money maker from the night in the NBA again. And this
Starting to get a little squirrely.
And this time, Porter had to leave the game because he wasn't feeling well.
Oh, was not feeling great. Got a little tummy bug. Oh, my stomach hurts.
You don't even like kids. How do you go into character like
My
that?
tummy hurts.
You feel really sorry for him.
Oh, it's terrible.
I mean, like, who we fooling?
No one, apparently.
You didn't think that maybe he didn't expect that would be the biggest money maker twice.
No, but you have to understand who you are. Self-awareness is important here. You have to understand that I'm Jonte Porter. Nobody's placing money on my prop bets.
Yeah, people didn't even really know I was in the league.
Yeah, because he's on a two-way contract. Half the time he's not in the league. That's what a two-way contract means.
Yeah.
Because one of those ways is not in the league, right? So
It's just unbelievable.
the level of stupidity here is off the charts.
I wonder, I doubt it was Ohtani, but I wonder who made the
Who bet on him? Might have been Ipe, though. You never know.
too soon.
Ohtani was just covering the debt.
Yep. Did I sound like her? She's pretty good. Yeah, that is.
Maybe.
Wait, that's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's not like real smart on his part.
And as if the NBA doesn't have enough problems. Because I know, you're talking to another fellow lover of the NBA, but
There's going to be some of this, unfortunately. Like, that's when you get into bed with gambling, there's going to be some of this. And you have to figure it out. And it seems like, listen, it's a couple Jonte Porter games here and there, probably doesn't really affect the integrity of the league. But at some point, it's going to be a bigger name, and it's going to be a bigger issue than Jonte Porter's regular season under on points.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a conversation. And it's not just an NBA thing. You're going to have this with baseball. You're going to have it with football.
And college basketball, too, as we were just discussing off air. It's just interesting what do the player injury reports look like? Because there's two guys that were on social media that I was just talking to you about that both complained about Wake Forest and the late scratch of one Hunter Salas the other day.
Yeah, with the foot ankle.
Yeah, like it was, I don't know, was it 15 minutes before the game?
10, 15 minutes, something
15
like that.
minutes
It was short.
before the game?
It was quick.
Like, and remember how Coach Rule, like, he kind of pushed back and he was like, I'm going to wait till the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
And he does. They take it up to the wire.
Yeah, they don't want to give
on
him
game
anything.
days, right?
They don't wanna
Which
give-
I get the
Yeah.
gamesmanship.
100%.
And everybody's like, man, the heck with gamesmanship. It's a gambling thing.
Yeah.
I just was like, that's funny. I never thought of that.
Well, I mean, it's a gambling thing for why people want injury reports. It's a gamesmanship thing for why Coach Rule doesn't want to put it out, right? He doesn't want you to know, especially if it's like a quarterback. He doesn't want you to know if it's going to be Chubba Purdy or Heinrich Harburg, because those are very different game plans. And it's harder on you if you have to prepare for both. You can't be as good at being ready for either.
And it's not like we haven't seen guys in the NBA get in trouble. We've got another guy in their investigation in the NFL too. So it's like,
yeah, it's not isolated to the NBA. This isn't an NBA problem.
Yeah.
This is a consequence. And listen, I'm pro the legalization of gambling, because if this was happening somewhere else, if this was happening in with a bookmaker that's not, legalized and things like that, this probably goes on longer than 3 games before we figure it out. Like, the legalization of gambling allows these things to be nipped in the bud sooner because there's reporting and things like that. Now, some shady stuff can still go on. Like, I understand the bookmakers still exist, but if you're doing this through legal means, it allows you to monitor and control the situation better.
Isn't it funny how it's the prop betting it's the thing. It's not
because nobody's trying to shave points.
Yeah, it's like, Headache Smith.
Anymore, nobody's trying to shave points. That's a bad idea.
Allegedly. Actually, he was busted for that.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Like it's
By the way, did you see Art Schleister? Do you remember Art Schleister? It's before your time.
I know the name, but
I got in trouble again. But this is like the 17th time.
Yeah.
But anyway, hey, Art.
That's a different Art.
Different Art. It's well done, Shane. I'm glad you're listening to the show.
Oh, I see.
Sometimes.
Like, why wouldn't you, like on a humbug, right? The anytime touchdown for Travis Kelce. Now you can't. That's hard. Like in the
it's harder
NFL.
to control.
But like, let's say 6 catches or something, and it's like that's gonna be a prop bet that they would probably get a lot of action on. Why wouldn't you just scout it out and say, hey, and how much action do you have on such and such? And then, Kelce wants to make an extra couple cool mil. He's like, hey, Patty,
help me out here.
Grease me the rock here about.
Which we know they do because we've seen it when it's tied to people's bonuses.
It's like,
right? Like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
We've seen it where it's like, hey, this guy needs 8 receptions to get an extra $1 million to hit his incentives. So, like, how different is that?
So it's just interesting how.
But the difference is
the player prop thing would.
It's easier to control.
Oh, man.
It's easier to control.
Yeah.
Or if he takes the under, maybe he has a couple drops that day.
That's too easy. Right? That gets scrutinized more.
It does, but it's also not crazy. Right? If you're a guy.
Yeah, but you're not going to take the. Who was it that just got in trouble at LSU? And a lot of them were on his prop bets, his own. And he was always betting on himself.
Yeah.
Was it Neighbors? Who was it?
It wasn't Neighbors, I don't think, was it?
No, he used the same his online gambling account through DraftKings or whatever was his actual name.
Yeah,
and I'm drawing a blank.
That's pretty dumb.
It's kind of unbelievable. Somebody will know. And it's why am I drawing a blank? The other good guy. Remember, he was supposed to be kind of a malcontent, but he was good, legit.
Yeah, LSU wide receiver.
Butte. Yeah.
Keyshawn Butte.
Butte, that's who it was. Thank you, myself.
We got to call it a tie.
Butte.
So he was trying to get his Butte. That's what he was trying to do, right?
No, you use a different app for that, Shano. Oh, you can't get Butte on DraftKings.
Zoe took some pirate booty to school.
Coming up next, we got Brent Hubbs of VolQuest.com. We'll talk about a little Tennessee and Creighton here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
The 13th, Ziegler. No! Oh, Dalton connect with the follow jam. Wow! The Tennessee Volunteers are headed back to the Sweet 16. Rick Barnes outlast Rodney Terry.
Certainly hoping. It seems like the lid's been on the basket for the last 2 weeks, and whether people believe it or not, I think we can shoot the ball. If we can do that, it'll give us obviously chances. But we got here, we came here to win this tournament.
Wrapping up the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here on the Pillar Exterior stage, and we're joined by Brent Hubbs of volquest.com. Brent, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Hope you guys are well.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Brent, I appreciate you joining us. Let's jump right into the scouting report of Creighton and Tennessee. I know that Rick Barnes had some thoughts about the comparison to a team that Tennessee has already played this season, and he threw out Alabama. What do you make when you hear that comparison between Creighton and the Tide?
Well, I think both of them offensively play kind of through analytics in some ways. Now, Alabama's a little more emphatic about the analytics, and I think Coach McDermott and Creighton is, but the concept is the same. Creighton wants to score at the rim with layups and dunks, or they want three-point shots. A 15-foot jump shot's not exactly high priority in the Creighton offense when you watch them play. So spread the floor, a lot of middle ball screen, creating help defense, forcing guys in gaps, and hopefully it leaves guys open. And when they do, Creighton makes you pay. And that's how Creighton won in overtime against Oregon. Oregon got sucked in a couple of times and ended up with open threes, and Creighton knocked them down. So very similar to what Alabama does when you look at Sears, the point guard for Alabama, kind of the way he gets in the paint and creates some action there, that he can kick it out from three-point shooters. He's a good interior passer that can get to the big man, or he can finish at the rim. And there's some similarities to the styles of those two teams, because everybody's like, you got to limit Creighton's three-point shooting. Well, they're going to take the shots. What you got to hope is that they're not going to make a bunch of shots.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to prevent them from shooting the three ball, because that's who they are. That's their DNA. So it's very similar in that way to Alabama.
I love the playing through analytics, because I think that's spot on. And I just, in getting ready for this week, kind of capping it, I was looking at some stuff Jordan Moore put out, who does some work for overtime there locally. And you're right on. He said Creighton has the second lowest rim attempt percentage and second highest three-point percentage through 2 games in the tournament. Conversely, Tennessee is one of the best rim three-point defenses in college basketball. And he got that from shot quality. And they're number 4 nationally throughout the course of the year in rim protection and three-point defense. Which do you see kind of giving if both teams play to their trends?
Well, I think here's the challenge for Tennessee. Part of that rim protection comes from the fact that defensively, Tennessee plays in gaps, and Jonas Aidoo is a pretty good rim protector, but they play a lot of help defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of help line defense, They don't pack it in, but they play in gaps. And what happens is you've got to find that balance between being gap help and being able to close out on a three-point shooter. So I think if you're defending Creighton, the first priority is you can't give Creighton wide open threes to get in a rhythm shooting the basketball from beyond the arc. So you might have to give up a little bit of rim protection, help defense, and hope that Jonas Adu, Tennessee's big man, can stay out of foul trouble and protect the rim. Because I don't know that you can dive in and help as much. Because if you get too many guys in the paint against Creighton, they're going to make you pay from the perimeter. And Coach Barnes, I was talking to him last night, and one of the things he made mention of, he said one of the harder parts of defending Creighton is you just can't relax in a possession for 40 minutes. Because the minute your guy gets rid of the ball or he sets a screen, he's spreading to a spot for an open jump shot. And if you don't sprint with him all the time, if you get a little lazy or if you get a little relaxed or you ball chase a little bit or ball watch, you're going to give up a three. And that'll be the challenge for Tennessee's defense, because it's not just Creighton standing around the perimeter waiting for a kick out. Those guys are moving all the time to create open looks for themselves.
We're talking with Brent Hubbs of VolQuest.com. Brent, obviously Dalton Knecht gets all the headlines, and rightfully so. But if Tennessee has to go to a second option, who do you think can be an X factor offensively for the Vols?
Well, they have not a three-headed monster, but three guys carry this team. And that's Jonas Adu, Zakai Ziegler, and Dalton Knecht. And if you look at them throughout the year, they have scored the bulk of the points. And when those three combine for 50 points or more, I think they've lost twice this year. Okay, so they're the kind of the catalyst. Now the question is, do you get 9 from Josiah Jordan-James? Do you find 11 points like you found with Tobey Awaka? Who is that fourth guy who's going to get you 8 to 10, 8 to 12? That could be a difference maker for you if the big three aren't playing really well. And that's what happened in the Texas game. Those big three were struggling. Now, Knecht ended up with points at the end, but in the first half, it was tough, and Ziegler didn't make shots. But it was Josiah Jordan-James with 9, and Awaka had 11 for Tennessee. So there's your X factor. But for Tennessee to be in this ball game, for this to be where you want it to be for all the tournament fans in the last 5 minutes of this game, Jonas Adu's got to make his bunnies at the rim. He's got to finish at the rim against Creighton's bigs. Zakai Ziegler can't go one for whatever he went the other night. And Dalton Knecht has got to make threes. He can't have a 1 for 8 night shoot the three ball. He's got to make some perimeter jump shots. It really starts with those three. As much as everybody talks about getting Vescovi's offense on track or Josiah Jordan-James offense, it centers around those three guys, Adu, Knecht, and Zakai Ziegler for Tennessee.
That's interesting. Do you want the game officiated a certain way, considering we know going in, Creighton simply just doesn't foul, and they're one of the best in the country all year. But when you run and jump and you play gaps like Tennessee does, how do we know that how will you know that Tennessee is defending the way that you want them to based on how the game is called?
Well, I think that, one, that the bigs have to stay out of foul trouble. So if it's ticky-tack and you get Jonas Adu and Tobey Awaka is a great rebounder who likes to foul, okay? You know, they want a game. They like to be physical, Tennessee does. Now, they're not going to, it's not beat you up like, old school Michigan State basketball or anything like that. But they want to play physical. They can get handsy. They like to push you around in the paint. So Tennessee wants let them play. They don't want a ticky-tack deal, but they want to play without fouling too. I mean, Rick Barnes goes crazy when his team picks up cheap fouls. So they want to play physical. I think just a typical tournament game. I mean, I won't say officials swallowed their whistles last weekend, but it's not regular season basketball, right? I mean, it's tournament time, and they're going to let you beat each other up a little bit. It doesn't matter for Creighton; they're just not going to foul. It's really an amazing stat when you look at where they are and the numbers that they have. They just don't foul. They play really good defense without fouling. It's a terrific job by that coaching staff and the players to stay disciplined, to understand that. Tennessee's going to obviously try to attack. They want to try to, get out and go a little bit, get downhill and see if they can pick up a foul on somebody here and there. But that's just not Creighton style. But if you ask Rick Barnes, he does not want a game where both teams are in the bonus with, 10 minutes to play in the first half, right? I mean, that's just not the way. He wants an up and down, high possession game. That's where he's most comfortable. It's where his team's most comfortable, and he wants the officials to let them play. He doesn't want the officials to create their involvement in the game, if you will.
We're talking with Brent Hubbs of VolQuest.com. Brent, you mentioned the potential foul trouble with the bigs for Tennessee. With Adu only typically playing about 25 minutes a game, I assume that'll be higher when he's guarding Kalkbrenner. And then Awaka, who gets a little foul happy, as you mentioned. Are you concerned at all that we might see Creighton kind of focus on Kalkbrenner a little more the way we have at certain points during the season, and that could give Tennessee a little bit of trouble?
Well, I think both of these teams want to establish an inside presence in this game early. And I think because there's going to be so much attention from, and there always is, from teams defending Creighton. Because what's the storyline with Creighton? Great three-point shooting team, right? It's all about the three ball. It's all about the three ball. And you kind of want to forget that they have a big man in the post who can score and can do things. It's kind of like that football team that everybody says, well, they're pass happy. They throw it all the time. And then you look up at the average 200 yards a game running the football. Like there's Creighton wants to play in the paint. It's not like there's five guys standing behind the arc playing around the world. I mean, they want to play at the rim too. I think both of these teams are going to try to establish a paint presence early in this game and get going and get into an offensive flow. I don't think they're going to come out, unless you just leave somebody wide open. I don't think you're going to come out and it's going to just be a three-point bizarre. I can't say the word. Out of the gate, I don't think both teams are just going to be exclusive to the three-point line. I think both teams are going to try to get to the rim, force the defenses to move, and see what they can get out of that action, whether that's an open look from the perimeter or you finish at the rim or you get a foul on a big man inside. I think that's the way you'll start this game.
That's Brent Hubbs from VolQuest.com. Brent, we appreciate your time. I would wish you good luck, but I'm not going to on Friday. But I appreciate you joining us nonetheless.
Absolutely. Should be a great game. I do think for everybody who saw Tennessee play against Texas, if you're a Creighton fan, you're probably going, hey, I love this matchup. This team can't shoot. That's not Tennessee's MO. Tennessee has been thought of as a really good team this year with a chance to make a run in the tournament because they've got more offensive firepower than they've had the last couple of years. It just didn't show up against Texas. I'll be surprised if they go back-to-back games like that.
Well, let's cross our fingers and hope for another aberration. No, Brent, we appreciate you for sure, and enjoy the game Friday, whatever that looks like.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
That's Brent
Gotta
Hubbs.
keep Ziegler out of the paint.
That's Brent Hubbs from VolQuest.com. Super shifty, super
and
fast twitch.
Little
about
squatty
5'9",
body.
not a big dude.
Tennessee just a slight fave.
Got to stay in front. The weather 2.5 last I saw.
2.5.
Ken Palm's got it at basically a coin flip, so we will see. That's the show for today. We got On the Rails after the first hour. We'll see what happens tomorrow on Hurrdat Sports Radio.